What's up, Chaos Shinobi here. This is What If Naruto has Dual Bloodline. Summary: in the conclusion of the Wave Mission, Sasuke causes Naruto to stuck with 100 needles in his skin. The Kyuubi then used the abundance of resources to create a pair of bloodlines for Naruto to use to fight for his friends. But Naruto's life is about to make a U-turn for the better and the worse. Duel Bloodline Naruto, Strong, and Smart Naruto. Chapter 13. To start things off is our decided first match. Will all but Sakura, Haruno and Hinata Hyuga leave the field? The request was done and the two fighters and fellow lovers were left to face each other for a good match. Are both fighters ready? Yes, I am ready. That is what I like to hear. Hajime. Hayate raised his hand in excitement and announced the first match in the finals to go underway. As the two kunoichi stare each other down, the remaining fighters were watching from the catwalk like with the preliminaries. The Jonin were there too and they were awaiting the start of the match. The Jonin were amazed on how two girls who were once considered not enough for the job but they actually became real kunoichi. The Jonin completers were actually thinking it was going to be a yell fest and a fist fight like in the academy, but after the preliminaries a month back, they were in doubt about that. Then they saw a feather from a nearby bird fluttered into the stadium and landed right in the middle of Hinata and Sakura. They must have took this for the signal to start since they finally approached each other with speed and force that level out as soon as they meet with their fists. It was felt all the way outside and anything that wasn't nailed down good enough was carried away from the stadium like leaves in the wind. Everyone inside the building were not faring any better, grabbing their runaway hats and holding onto the railings or their seats. Especially the other fighters, considering they are not allowed to be in the seats if they were still fighting. Geez, when the girls said they were training, they should have at least gave us a warning shot. Naruto muttered while not completely complaining since this was proof that his girls were well on their way to become their own kunoichi. Now that was a huge wake-up call. That was voice that only Naruto can hear and he hadn't for a few months. Kukaka-chan? You have been dead silent ever since we got back from the Wave Mission. How are you? Naruto to himself, since it would only be freaky if he asked out loud. I am glad you asked, little boy of mine. Naruto blushed at the little boy comment, because who is to try and take back a mother's nickname for you without being kicked by the skull? I am doing fine, and since you sounded so confident in your new powers, I wanted to take a break and hear from you when you wake me up. I guess that someone else did for you. Kuka explained, to some effect. You still got me worried about that. I thought you didn't want to have anything to do with this. Naruto thought sadly, which made Kuka kind of regret her decision of silence. Still, you have missed a lot. I have been dating my secret admirer from the academy and even got a second girlfriend with my own teammate, Naruto said with a blush as he had to hear the squeal of excitement at how her son was growing up. Also, Sasuke team has been chained up for his traitorous behavior during the Wave Mission. He wouldn't be causing any trouble. Good, because personally I can't stand the stench of an Uchiha born because of their eyes and their blood, Kuka said as she awaited the rest until she had to make a guess. Is it time already for the Chunin exams? Yeah, but how did you know? Naruto replied, and his answer was a giggle from his adoptive mother. Well, I have heard about it through your mother and... Kuka started, but she was interrupted. My mother? You were sealed in my mother? Naruto nearly shouted but managed to keep his ranting to himself. Kuka tried to calm him down and it finally worked when the two fighters were finally on their feet again. XXXXX. Back to the match. Hinata and Sakura were gathering themselves together after that shockwave sent them both flying in their own directions. Sakura managed to get back on her feet before Hinata, just enough time to raise her first and slam it into the ground below and causing it to crack into pieces. Ha! Sakura yelled in vigor at her attack, yet Hinata dodged it anyway when the Hyuga jumped high into the air where the earth-shattering attack couldn't reach her, all the way to the other side of Sakura as her attack only went straight forward. Jiken no Kishirozen, Haranumi, Hinata yelled as she started with a palm strike hard on the face only to use her other palm on Sakura's right arm to spin around to land a sturdy left side roundhouse kick. Sakura tried to counter it but Hinata was fast and nimble, enough to glide over a left horizontal punch and used another palm strike to send Sakura to the ground, but before that, Hinata used her left leg to change Sakura's direction more to the side, right into a boulder that was shot out of the earth due to Sakura's previous attack. Speaking of which, the boulder softened at an alarmingly fast rate, right into nothing but mud. Time for my counter-attack, Sakura shouted from inside the dirt rubble that retracted inward. Doten, Doryu Taiga. Hinata then noticed the ground beneath her feet started to give away and she found herself sliding away from Sakura, who appeared out of the rubble. Doten, Doryu Dan. Out of the mud stream came a dragon's head and out of it came bullets of mud that struck hard against the wall in front of her. Sakura smirked at her work. I have been training Hina-chan. I am not the same girl a month ago. Neither am I. Hinata's voice came out of the rubble clearly, and once the smoke cleared, It was revealed to have the Hyuga heiress standing on a wall of mud that took in the Doryuden. Hinata then performed some hand seals, Sutin, Mija and Kashindu. Water left her mouth at the speed of an anvil from a cliff and in the shape of a ship's anchor. Sakura now knew that both her and her opponent used Oden, so it will be useless to use the same defensive jutsu over again. So she just dodged the Sutin and went into close combat with Hinata. Sakura's blows were enough to shatter stone like last time, but Hinata used her Jiken no Kishirozen to maneuver around them and hit under the defenses which Sakura was quick to protect. This all adds up to an even match that seemed to have no direction to go in. "Let's finish this once and for all," Sakura yelled as she made the snake seal for a new Doten on offense this time. Doten, Dorohiki Shindo. Mud erupted from Sakura's mouth in large bullets that rocketed through the air. Unfortunately for her, Hinata had her own secret up her sleeve. Futon, Shinkuuga-chan. Hinata breathed in deeply and expelled a super-concentrated burst of wind that shot furiously towards the rain of mud and caused an explosion that rocked the entire stadium. When the shaking had ceased and the smoke had cleared to show that the two girls were on the ground or what is left of it, clearly unconscious, Hayate ran down and checked both of their vitals. Both competitors are unable to continue. This match is a draw. That announce didn't start any booing or groaning but cheers for the great and exciting match. Only those who know that they are doing can turn a dangerous event into an entertainment one. That match was the sure sign of such ninja for the future to come. XXXXX. It was now time for the second match of the finals, between Kankuro of Suna and Haku of Konoha. The latter arrived in a burst of ice onto the battle arena, but the former was about to quit when he felt like someone was holding him up and threw him into the arena. All he ever heard was someone saying, "Just fight. Nothing is going to change." Since he was in the arena, there was nothing that Kankuro could do, so he sighed and gathered himself on his feet. This girl said that she can turn her chakra into freezing temperatures, enough to freeze human skin. This shouldn't be too hard. Kankuro thought in his head as he readied the bundle on his back that he took with him to the finals. "Are both fighters ready?" Hayate asked. Haku said sure, while Kankuro was whatever. Hajime. Haku knew the drill by now, so she backflipped for some distance to take out some kunai to throw at her opponent. Kankuro just dodged them and went for some close combat which Haku had thwarted by grabbing the arms that turned to ice. Strangely enough, Haku threw Kankuro over and went for the bundle to show the same boy with makeup on and wearing a cat suit. "This boring. You have done this before a month ago. Have you even trained Hilda?" Haku suddenly sensed something out of place. She jumped out of the way of some spears that came out of nowhere and stroked the puppet boy, still on the ground and in wrappings, to reveal shattered wood and paint. It was just the puppet doppelganger of Kankuro. "Sure, I have trained. It is your tree huggers that are too general." Kankuro got up and shed of his catsuit to reveal another underneath, but had steel plates around the forearm and wrist. "Don't you know how hard it is to remove ice from clothes without tearing them or get them wet from wading? Steel is plenty in our village and it is easier to get ice off than fabric." That explained how there was no ice on Kankuro's underclothes. "Okay, I'm impressed now, but this match isn't over yet," Haku shouted before spiriting towards the puppet Janan from sand. XXXXX. "You know Naruto-kun. That Haku boy sure likes to lie about his ability to create and manipulate ice. I gave you the same thing." Kuka wanted to break the ice, but she never expected for Naruto to break down in laughter instead his head, for the fox to hear. "I am sure, Ka-san. But you better get a better look or send at him. You'll be surprised." Naruto explained. He had given Kuka the ability to sense what is happening outside the mindscape, through Naruto's own senses. Speaking of which, Kuka tried it out and indeed discovered some surprisingly. "That scent. That Haku is a girl," Kuka shouted for her disbelief that she let her eyes fool her into mistaking a girl for a boy. "I know. Haku is good at acting the opposite sex, but she couldn't fool me when we first met." Naruto spoke proudly and smugly, which just rubbed in Kuka's side the wrong way. "Don't give me that tone of voice, young man. I have been missing out and I have gotten rusty by just sleeping about." The fox shouted in defiance and in a stern tone that scolded Naruto for his own behavior at his adoptive mother. "Sorry, but I could help it. But I wanted to know why you were sealed in my mother," Naruto said in his own stern voice, and Kuka sighed. "Now, just for you to know, the whole story will just take too long, so I will be leaving it out. Sorry for your spoiler, suckers." "And that is it. It is all I know, so you will have to figure it out on your own." Kuka finished her side of the story that sadly had a lot of holes in it, and that means unanswered questions, and Naruto had many in mind. "Okay. Thank you for finally telling me, Ka-san. Now let's watch Haku-ne-chan's match." Naruto sent one last thought to his mother in his mindscape. XXXXX. Back to the match. Haku and Kankuro had been duking it out the whole time that the steel plating made a perfect substitute for clothing in the hand of chilling ice. Still, It was an even match, so who knows who'll win. Kankuro was still upset that his attempt to forfeit was foiled by a blonde brat, while Haku was determined to make it big in the finals, hoping to feel right and home with Konoha like she spent the last 2 months training to do. Haku then sensed something else wrong, and before she could gain some distance and space, Kankuro had grabbed her and opened his mouth to inhuman lengths and shot needles dipped in venom. Haku used the famous log substitute to escape the poison, but was baffled by 2 things. One, that the Kankuro she was fighting was a puppet along and the wrappings were in a bundle once more. It then unwrapped to show Kankuro once more, who wasn't even sweating compared to the tired Haku. Surprised again. "Don't worry your faint heart anymore, tree hugger, I am the real Kankuro. It was getting boring sending puppets after you," Kankuro said, and Haku was getting peeved by it while the puppet sandboy just shrugged and sighed. "Fine. I will spill the beans. You were right before that the Kankuro holding the bundle was a puppet, but there was more to doing than that. I was in the bundle with another puppet disguised as me. That was the dummy you saw as part of my hench I came up with. Your little brother somehow became my inspiration for being a prankster. Ha ha ha." Kankuro finished his lecture with a hearty laughter that got everyone steaming mad at how they allowed themselves to be fooled. Then it started to get cold all of a sudden. The village guests were confused by the change in temperature, while the locals all muttered about the same thing that happened a month ago. That when the blonde boy was pissed about the Inuzuka brat. This time it came from the girly boy from Team 7. "You know how I keep my little brother as a prankster under control?" Haku spoke in a tone that was as cold as the area around her. "Let me show you." Haku made single hand seals, too fast for Kankuro to catch up with. Makyo Hyoshu. Several mirrors made of ice appeared as if from nowhere, and they reflected only one person, Haku herself. The mirrors grouped into a dome that surrounded Kankuro with only one puppet handy. Then there was sinister laughter of a woman, and the reflection started to show Haku with needles in her hands. It was reliving the moment on the bridge where it all started. Senshatsu Suishu, a mist blue with chakra emerged around Kankuro and took the form of countless needles that rained down on Kankuro, who counted dodge them or deflect with the aid of his only puppet. The Suna boy had put up with a good fight but ultimately fell in the end when Haku stopped holding back. The mirrors subsided and everyone had the look of confusion on their faces. Apparently, the mirrors had shone the light of the full sun onto the audience around them, so they missed the dome of ice mirrors. Hayate went down to check the vitals of Kankuro to find that there were many puncture marks, but they all purposely missed the points where it would have been fatal. Hayate cleared his itching throat. Winner by knockout, Haku. Cheers ran until their throats were sore while Haku left for her place with her team, who welcomed her with enthusiasm after the exciting match, which Haku admitted it was a challenge as she underestimated the resourcefulness of the Sunajinan. She hoped not to make the same mistake and have an even more challenging match. Haku better not have jinxed that once the day is over. XXXXX. Now it was time for match 3 of the finals, between Naruto Uzumaki of Two Bloodlines and Akonami, who fights with shark's skin. The two fighters nodded at each other and left for their ends of the arena, where they looked themselves down, as if to say, "Don't you dare disappoint me." Clearly, the match between Naruto Uzumaki and Akonami Yoshihaku will now get underway. "Are both fighters ready?" Hayate announced the match, and he was answered with a loud and clear "yeah." Hajime, Kaden, Gokakyu no Jutsu, Jukasame no Hata. Both were shouted at the same time, and then there came a giant ball of scorching flame colliding with the image of a shark's bear skin, causing an explosion. The match between Naruto Uzumaki and Akonami Yoshihaku will now get underway. "Are both fighters ready?" Hayate announced the match, and he was answered with a loud and clear "yeah." Hajime, Kaden, Gokakyu no Jutsu, Jukasame no Hata. Both were shouted at the same time, and then there came a giant ball of scorching flame colliding with the image of a shark's bear skin, causing an explosion. Everyone nearby had to brace themselves for the impact that shook them to their core, and also for the horrible racket that threatened to shatter their ears. Then the occasional cloud of smoke had cleared after a good long time, to show that not one side had gained an inch of advantage. Up above, a bird happened to feel the impact too, that caused it to almost fall into the stadium, but managed to get in with the updraft and back into the air. It didn't know that it left one of its feathers behind to drift downward with the wind and landed right into the battle area. Once it touched the ground, it was taken as a signal to continue for the two ninjas as they raced for each other at the same moment. Ninjutsu only landed a standhill, so the shinobi started to switch to taijutsu. Blows rocketed to and fro, stabs and jabs, pushes and pulls, thrusts and slaps, the works that creates sparks and makes our hands hurt. Yet Akonami noticed something was off about her opponent's hands when she let out a loud shriek of pain and pulled both of her arms away to see her left with ice on, while her right arm had serious burns, peeling of the skin pretty badly. "So that is it from the preliminaries," Akonami said with a surprisingly calm tone. "When you humiliated the dog jerk while everyone was saying it was either hot or cold or neither, Naruto sighed as he pocketed his hands. Yes. It might twin Kekai Genkai, but anything else, you will have to figure that on your own, Naruto said, and Akonami smirked. Fine then. The Kirikunoichi then charged with both of her arms, despite them being affected by Naruto's powers negatively, outward. Samago no Haisa. Everyone could see the image of a shark on its side, about to chomp on Naruto, who managed to dodge the pincer attack. Hyotan, Hai Shintai Ashiba. Akonami could barely move out of the wave of the ice sheet that spread around the ground of the arena. After failing at running, both of her feet were frozen stiff. Both Akonami was not out of business yet. Jukasame no Hata. That attack from the very beginning was a lot faster than Naruto had thought it will be, and couldn't move out in time to receive the attack head-on. Yet when the smoke cleared, the blonde wasn't even scratched, he was just wet. Before anyone could comment on that, Naruto had finished a set of hand seals before taking in a huge breath. Fuuten, Gorotuski Onsen. Naruto had extinguished a huge sum of boiling water that melt the ice, carrying Akonami away into a wall that was burned from the sheared heat. Naruto still wasn't letting his guard down, not with someone like this who managed to get this far in the exams. Suten, Mijirappa. Speak of the devil, a shot of water had from the smoke and nearly hit Naruto if he didn't move out of the way in time. Jukasame no Hata. The same shark image had emerged from the smoke as well, but this time, hitting Naruto, who was in a position where he couldn't avoid it. While not as bad as Choji in the preliminaries, Naruto was still covered with cuts and his outfit was in shreds. Don't underestimate Kirigakure. We are not the weakest village there is. Akonami thought she had Naruto enough to brag about it, but the blonde wasn't finished either. Katen, Hosenka no Jutsu. Naruto unleashed a storm of fireballs at Akonami, who wasn't worried the least. She just didn't know that it was exactly what Naruto wanted. Suten, Suijin Heki. The Kirikunoichi unleashed a barrier of water that extinguished the fireballs, but when Akonami thought she had the blonde, Futon, Repusho. Naruto clapped his hands, which dissipated the wall of water to reveal shuriken that were accelerated by the wind force. Akonami could get out in time for the ninja stars to strike her furiously, causing great injury. Right now it was beginning to become obvious that it was time for one last attack, and those two Junon had thought so. Akonami had readied her injured arms, covering them with immense chakra that was even visible, while Naruto took out a string with kunai attached, each equipped with an explosive note, before channeling his own chakra onto each of them. Jukasame no same more. Akonami started to shoot out multiple images of sharks from her arms towards Naruto. Futon, Kurisuzumarashi. The wind made from chakra had formed the shape of a sparrow on every kunai when Naruto launched them from the cord connecting them together. The two attacks moved in blurs, but to the shinobi, they moving until they hit each other with a burst of force that shook the very air itself. When everyone was able to see the aftermath, they saw to their shock that both shinobi were sent flying by the force behind each other's attacks, but only Naruto was able to emerge and still stand despite his obvious injuries, while Akonami fell into unconsciousness. Genma appeared near her, to check her vitals. Then he stood up to announce, the winner of the match is Naruto Uzumaki. The crowd soon cheered for such an exciting match, while paramedics from Kiri took their beaten Kunoichi out for healing, while Naruto managed to use a sunshine back to his own team. That was a tough battle to be sure, but Naruto needed to make sure things are still going along and prepared for anything funny happens. XXXXX. That was very good, Naruto-kun, you really are quite the inventor, Haku said, while Hinata and Sakura were busy focusing on covering the spots where Naruto's natural healing ability had to avoid in order to fix these bruises and scrapes. Still, we never found out how that Kunoichi did her jutsu, so could you tell us, Tilda? Haku decided to tease a little as part of her own personality, while the blonde's girlfriends joined in on the begging that Naruto could never ignore. Fine then. The Kunoichi smiled at themselves proudly, while the others just knew that the girls had Naruto wrapped around their little finger. From I have noticed is that her chakra had been fresh in the air that her techniques had passed through, so I thought that she was manipulating the water vapor in the air to mimic the sharpness of a shark's skin. The density of the chakra mixed in the air was so thick that you could see the image of a shark as clear as day. Now his audience were taking this in and were amazed on how well Naruto has turned out to be really good about breaking down enemy techniques from simply looking at them in action. That is actually brilliant observation there, Naruto-kun. Naruto cringed to hear a voice that once again had taken him by surprise since he had his match, much like when the very first match of the finals was going underway. I wish you will stop that, Ka-chan. I can keep flinching when you suddenly start talking to me from inside my head. Naruto thought, and instead, Kuka giggled. You know that I can't help it when you let your guard down right after you finish your battles. Kuka teased her adoptive son like all mothers do for a living and pleasure. It was always worth it to see Naruto try to hide his blush from the eyes outside his mind. So the blonde tried to change the subject. Anyway, the next match is going to happen and I better prepare to be both excited and bored. Naruto thought that managed to get Kuka's attention. Just how does that happen, Naruto-kun? Isn't everyone in your village or the guest are good at making a match exciting? This time, Naruto chuckled at it while leaving his adoptive mother even more confused. Just watch on how Shikamaru will display what is it like to be a Nara. Naruto thought, and he got comfortable with both Hinata and Sakura finishing up the healing, or should I say groping. They then leaned on one of his shoulders to rest their tired heads. Girls will always be girls. XXXXX. Alright everyone. This will be the fourth match of the Chunin exam finals. Between Shikamaru, Nara and Temari of the Sands. With 3 incredible matches in a row, the crowds were cheering even though the match hadn't started. What they don't know is that there is nothing exciting about Slacker trying to get out of a match. Temari just used her giant fan to hover slowly to the battle arena while Shikamaru was still in the stands, about to forfeit, but then he felt some grab him by the back of his collar. Then Nara turned to see Naruto, already all healed up, with a look that wasn't approving of what Shikamaru was planning. "Don't you dare quit on us now, Shika. I know where I can find your mom," Naruto said, threatening, and Shikamaru paled at the possibility of the blonde telling on him with his mother, who never had tolerance for her husband's or son's laziness to say the least. Then Naruto threw Shikamaru unceremonious into the battle arena. "Now go get them and don't worry. Temari isn't as troublesome as you think." Now that meant Shikamaru's doom, as women hate it when men call them troublesome even if indirectly. "What do you say about me?" Temari was now roaring for a fight, and Shikamaru was still on the ground cursing and grumbling about how Naruto had to force him to fight in a match that he will prefer cloud watching over. Anyways, this match between Shikamaru, Nara and Temari of the Sands will get underway once both fighters are ready. Genma wasn't going to have any more of this nonsense, and thank the gods, it was quick for him to start the match and get out of the way. Kamaitachi no Jutsu. Temari reached for her fan and used it blow a sharp gale at Shikamaru, who was not happy about it at all. Now when he was thrown all over the battle arena like a rag doll in the wind of a storm. Shikamaru finally decided to stop himself when he saw that he was heading to the ground with enough force to crack his head open. Instead he was engulfed in a cloud of smoke, making Temari think that she had got him and braced herself to give the final stroke. Instead, she gasped to see a shadow hurried towards her. Temari moved away, since she had read that once a Nara's shadow touches another, the owner of the same shadow is helpless to be used as a puppet while mimicking the movements of the Nara. Temari then saw that Shikamaru had halted his fall while using some kunai as footholds. Then he threw some more kunai, but with bomb notes attached, which nearly had Temari if she didn't move in the other direction in which they were thrown in. From that moment, Shikamaru tried to use his technique again, but Temari had dodged it again. "Troublesome. I knew this will happen, and that is why I wanted to forfeit while I had the chance, but no thanks to a troublesome blonde." Shikamaru looked at Naruto, who just smirked until his mouth fell off, and then pointed at Temari, who was just fuming. Shikamaru then realized that he forgot about his opponent also being a blonde. "If you still going to call me that, then I should make you quit before I kill you." Temari then unleashed another Kamaitachi no Jutsu at Shikamaru, who just managed to avoid it but dislodging his makeshift footholds, making him finally fall to the ground. Yet that rage was still fresh in the Sunakuno-ichi's system, so she tried to hit him with her wind release technique, over and over. XXXXX. In the stands, the Kuno-ichi were feeling sorry for Shikamaru for letting his laziness make him undergo the wrath of an angry woman, while the male shinobi were just clicking their tongues and shaking their heads at how foolish that even a Nara could be with it came to become motivated or dealing with women, and especially Kuno-ichi. Naruto was just observing and waiting for Shikamaru to finally show off his creativity and strategy in battle before quitting. In his mind, Kuka was cheering for Temari to show off her girl power. "I must say that this Shikamaru character could use some of your own advice about getting a girlfriend before they all do, Naruto-kun. Some things will never change." And for once, Naruto didn't even bother trying to hide his blush, because with his 2 girlfriends on each shoulder and the others looking at him from the other side, couldn't even see that blush from that given distance. "That will only happen years after this, Kachan. Everyone thinks I am wasting time with girls when I should be training," Naruto retorted in thought, but Kuka just won't let go of it. "Sure, and I will be still waiting to hear on how your colleagues come to you for dating advice." Naruto groaned internally. His adoptive mother will never stop trying to embarrass him. XXXXX. Shikamaru then decided that any more talking is only going to make this even more troublesome, so he used the wind to his advantage by mixing some smoke screens while in the cover of the smoke. Shikamaru will try to finish this match once and for all. And so, when Temari finally managed to dispel the smoke, she had to dodge yet another explosive note attached to a kunai. Temari then realized that, as the matches went on, the shade created by the sun increased, and so did the additional range of Shikamaru's shadows. Also, Temari noticed that she was actually quite far from the shade, so she felt safe from the influence and was able to use another of jutsu at Shikamaru, who didn't budge an inch. Yet, what is going? Why can't I move? Temari felt like something had grasped her body and was like making her paralyzed from head to toe. That couldn't be Shikamaru's shadow since she was too far from the limited range of it, or is she? Kage main no jutsu success, Shikamaru said with a cocky expression on his face and confidence of victory in his voice, which set the civilians into shock as well as Temari, who could understand what just happened. Then she saw that Shikamaru was getting a little exhausted and then saw something that she couldn't believe she missed. She was in range of the shadows after all. In fact, Temari was just standing near the edge of the shade caused by the afternoon sun. But how? I was sure that the shade wasn't this big. Temari struggled to find out what had caused this, and Shikamaru sighed. Well, since I had to win in the preliminaries, a troublesome blonde with whiskers. Shikamaru had dragged those last two words in order to make Temari blush at how she overreacted to his words not once but twice in one day, as well as trying to drag a verbal jab at Naruto. He offered to help me expand my horizons since my performance at the preliminaries almost made me too predictable. One thing I did learn from him personally was what genjutsu actually is, messing up the sense of others by stirring up their own chakra reserves. A lot of ninjas got curious to this and listened in, so when our enemies will realize that they were under in genjutsu, they will try to dispel it, but by suing the same chakra that is the source to the illusion, they are helping us strengthen it, Shikamaru said, and the shinobi were getting it now. By rallying you up into your win techniques, I was able to conceal myself casting the genjutsu. You never suspected a thing and that can get you killed. That is what Naruto had taught me. Genma then dropped down to announce Shikamaru as the winner when I forfeit. Everyone was shocked to see that the same Nara forfeiting even thought he had gotten himself the victory. He must have been reading their minds when he started speaking again. I am nearly out chakra, and even if I can recharge by the time of my next match, I will have to go against Naruto, and for the record I will never win against a troublesome blonde like him. Genma saw prefect logic behind that. Shikamaru was a true Nara alright, but still the match had also proved to be anticlimactic, a real downer to be sure. XXXXX. What is with that boy? Why did he have to surrender? This time, Naruto was expecting to hear the voice of disbelief from Kuka, and so he never flinched, not even by the sheer volume of the voice. Well, he does have a point. He nearly had the chakra left for another match or the time left to recharge if did accept his victory. Besides, after how he made fun of Temari-san, don't you feel at least grateful for Shikamaru not hogging the victory all to himself? Naruto was a true gentleman to be sure, and Kuka actually calmed down at those words. Fine. But that is the last time I will let such a lazy ass do something so stupid. Kuka grumbled, and Naruto just said nothing, as any comment will just offend her, and Naruto was not going to do such things to the woman who finally became his mother. XXXXX. Now it is time for the fifth match of the finals, between Gaara of the Sands and Mizusami of Kirigakure. Genma announced to get everyone's damped spirits up again, and before he could even budge from his spot, Gaara appeared in a tornado of sand while Mizusami appeared from within a coat of water in the shape of a shark swimming in the air. Are both fighters ready? Yes. Yeah. Then Hajime. If Genma had known what was caused those two words, then he will also know about the attack on the village that also set of a string of events that will shock the entire ninja world to its core. Now it is time for the fifth match of the finals, between Gaara of the Sands and Mizusami of Kirigakure. Genma announced to get everyone's damped spirits up again, and before he could even budge from his spot, Gaara appeared in a tornado of sand while Mizusami appeared from within a coat of water in the shape of a shark swimming in the air. Are both fighters ready? Yes. Yeah. Then Hajime. If Genma had known what was caused those two words, then he will also know about the attack on the village that also set of a string of events that will shock the entire ninja world to its core. Mizusami decided to take the first move while Gaara just stood there in his original position. The latter always allowed his sand to protect him whatever he wants it to or not. The Kiri shinobi launched a string of kunai in a similar manner to Naruto's before. Like before, Gaara's sands raced from within the gourd on his back in order to take in the kunai, but because of that, Gaara never noticed that there were special seals on those kunai until too late, when his sand got wet for some reason, and because of that, Gaara couldn't control his sands anymore as they became too heavy to move. Now your guard is down, Mizusami yelled when he moved in to slash at Gaara's face, only to see that there was even more sand guarding him. And since that sand wasn't wet, Gaara was able to repel Mizusami away until the Mizu shinobi managed to avoid the worst to think of a different plan. After a short time, a smirk found its way to his face. I've got it. Die and appease me, mother, with your blood. Gaara then appeared with his sand about to crush Mizusami, which can be bad for the average person, but for a shinobi with a plan, it was the prefect chance to brilliantly execute it. Sutin, Bakaswishoha, Mizusami shouted and the large waves of fierce water had drowned the sands, causing Gaara to flee, to avoid getting wet. Then Mizusami started the first phase of his new plan. He threw pairs of kunai into Gaara's direction, but the Suna shinobi let his guard down since none of them even got into range of himself. Suten, Suijin Heki, Sabaku Soso. Gaara panicked and tried to stop this wall of water that seemed to be heading for the kunai and strike when he wasn't letting his guard up. Somehow the sands had stopped the Suten defensive jutsu being used as an offensive one as well. But Gaara never noticed that he had fallen for Mizusami's strategy all along, and he sound paid the price for it. He felt like something very thin and fine was touching his skin, and more specifically, his throat, his torso and his limbs. But before he could see that it was wires that were attached to the kunai that missed him, along with some strange paper with even stranger drawing that made his head cloudy, he heard something clear and loud, "Same no hanto, zetai fukuzai." With the leftover water in the arena and from the Suijin Heki, Mizusami was able to move in while Gaara was still not thinking straight and made a mortal wound on the side of his stomach, spraying his red life substance all over the ground beneath his feet. Gaara roared in pain and yet was confused at the sight of what was leaving his body. It was like a strange red and warm liquid that he only felt in certain places and times. My blood? My blood. Gaara started to act like this was the first time he ever bled in his life. Then Gaara started to morph in a sick way. It was like he was becoming a monster that merged with the very sands that he kills with. His eyes turned from human to a black one with shining iris of a star shape. His skin turned sand brown with black markings all around. His facial features even took less on that of a human's and that of a mammal like a raccoon. Everyone in the stand were getting scared and confused violently until they suddenly relaxed and saw feathers falling from the sky before falling back into their seats like they were dead. This also happened where the Junon were awaiting their next turn at the same fate. XXXXX. What is going on? Naruto shouted as feather caused people, shinobi and civilians alike to fall around him. Kasan. I am here, Sochi-kun. I have managed to stop this genjutsu from putting you to sleep. That is what this jutsu does. The Nihon Shoujo no Jutsu. Kuka said, and she pointed out the situation to her adoptive son. Naruto nodded as he received on how to handle this situation. And with that in mind, he raced to find the rest of his fellow Junon so they don't get separated and get killed in the confusion. XXXXX. Elsewhere in the village, the shinobi who managed to either stay awake and awoken themselves marched off to protect the others who couldn't protect themselves. This was because as soon as the genjutsu ran out of juice, enemy shinobi appeared and immediately attacked the village. They appeared from every alleyway, from every dark corner, and form any possible hiding place where the eyes of the protecting shinobi never laid themselves on. Soon all the shinobi were all nothing but scattered throughout the village. It will seem this ambush is going to be a real disaster for Konoha. Back in the battle arena, with Gaara still screaming about bleeding like a baby, the Suna Kunoichi appeared and took Gaara into her arms. We are out of here. Let's go, Temari said as she tried to get Gaara out of the village. The plan was for him to awaken his demon against Sasuke, but the tournaments had changed and they were getting a little antsy. Too bad that their fears actually came true. Now they needed to get Gaara away from the Anbu, who will try to subdue him and ruin the rest of the plans. XXXXX. Meanwhile, Hiruzen and Mei had moved just in time for the Kazekage to attack them, forcing the two Kage to retreat to the rooftops of the Hokage Tower. Around them, 4 shinobi wearing similar clothing of boxers appeared on all 4 corners that made up the roof, not with the blue shirts, black pants and oversized rope knots behind them. Then these shinobi did one single action. They made their hand seals and a cubic dome of purple-colored walls and ceiling emerged. The 4 violent flames formation? Mei voiced her observation. So Orochimaru wants no one getting out or interfering with his battles, huh? Even with another village fighting for years, old man Hiruzen? The elderly Kage sighed deeply. It is me he wants, and if I didn't know the once prodigy of a student, he has something planned for you to be busy, Hiruzen said, and Mei had to nod at those words. Then the laughter of a madman was to be heard, pricing their ears. I should have been made the Yondaime Hokage, but you wasted your time trying to make me see this will of fire that Brad had instead, which you took my deserved title and gave to him, Orochimaru yelled at his past teacher. And what happened after you stuffed my head with dreams, ambitions for the future? You brand me as a traitor all because you were afraid of what I will become. I just wanted to know the answer to questions no one knew the answers to. And with this will kill you for what you done to me, and then I will finally be free. Orochimaru finished his speech by weaving hand seals which got both Kage on guard, and they launched their own attacks. Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Katen, Hosenka no Jutsu. All these attacks sent a hail of shuriken into Orochimaru's direction, hoping to break his concentration and cancel any technique he was about to do. Unfortunately, it was not to be. Kushios, Edo Tensei. Stopping the shuriken, Even the ones covered in fire, were two coffins that acted like shields for the cowardly. But no one was able to see that the snake sage was already out of breath from suing such a forbidden and demanding jutsu. His embarrassing encounter with Naruto in the forest still lingered around and was still biting him in the rear. Each of the coffins had the kanji for number 1 and 2 from the left to right respectively. Then the first coffin with the kanji for 1 opened to reveal a tall man with tan skin and dark eyes. He had waist-length black hair typically styled in a center-parted fringe that framed his face. He often wore the standard shinobi dress of his era, consisting of dark red armor worn over a simple black suit with sandals. This armor was constructed from numerous metal plates, formed into multiple protective guards along his body. Each collar of his shoulder guards bore a strange symbol that was not seen in the village. The other coffin also opened and out came was a fair-skinned man with white, shaggy hair and dark-colored eyes. He had 3 red markings on his face, 1 under each of his eyes and 1 on his chin. In combat, he wore blue armor with a distinctive white fur collar over a simple black suit. This armor was constructed from numerous metal plates, formed into multiple protective guards along his body. Beneath his shoulder armor he wore 2 bands on each arm. This clothing was accompanied by sandals and a hapori in place of the more traditional forehead protector. His casual outfit was a simple, short-sleeved, blue shirt kimono with mesh armor underneath and held closed by a pale yellow sash. This casual attire included blue pants and a bracelet of sorts on his left hand. "Are they?" Mei said, and Hiruzen nodded to verify her fears. She had seen their faces before and heard of their power. They were the first 2 Hokage of Konoha, Hashirama Senju and his younger brother Tobirama Senju. "Where are we, brother?" Hashirama started to mutter as he got used to his new surroundings that he did not recognize. "This does not look like the astral plane where the dead go," Tobirama said in his usual serious tone. Then they both saw Hiruzen with a woman neither of them saw before. They then realized that if someone had went through such hard work to get their best student onto a rooftop and bring them to life on the spot, this woman must be. "Oh. They finally elected a female Kage while we were away. That is great. Mito-chan has been trying to get that to happen for decades." Hashirama voiced his approval that his people had finally settled somewhere where they settled their sexist ways about kunoichi and women alike for something like this. Despite the praise, Mei still found herself sweat-dropping at the impression this legendary Hokage who was considered to be one of the shinobi to be nicknamed, the god of shinobi. This is what Hashirama Senju was like? Maybe I should have listened to old man Hiruzen. After all, he was trained by both this boso and his brother. Seriously, who really is the older brother of this bunch? Mei thought all in her head but still readied herself for a real battle against them with Orochimaru in the mix. XXXXX. Back at the stands in the Colosseum, Naruto was still trying to find where his friends are. They had to suggest to be in different place to diffuse any arousing suspicion. Seriously, what will they do when they get ambushed because they were alone? Yao. The Konoha shinobi were baffled to see that Shikamaru was not dead and jumped with his rear end on fire. They all saw that Naruto had a mischievous look on his face, that told them that Naruto decided to be a little sadist when it came to waking Shikamaru up. "Nice to see that you have finally decided to join us from the land of the dead. We need to get going. Sasuke has escaped from his prison," Naruto said, and his fellow Jonin who have gathered around for the plan had gasped. They have heard about Sasuke's traitorous behavior during the wave mission, so he was locked up until it was time to harvest his essence, thus making him an unwilling sperm donor. He also had spotted the Suna shinobi and ran off to face them. "Kakashi-sensei told us to track him down and stop the team from doing something stupid and return him back to his cell," Naruto said to the glaring Shikamaru, who found himself being dragged along like a sack of potatoes along with the rest of Team 7 along with Team 8. Shikamaru eventually catch up in their pace, but that was to be soon as when they found the Suna team. The trio from the desert split up to help Gaara escape the Konoha shinobi. They still didn't stop Sasuke from moving past them. Shikamaru was about to try and evade Temari, who was still angry at him for humiliating her and giving up at the worst possible time during their match. "Shikamaru, you made a fool out of a lady and it is only fair and right that you started your fight with her and fight for real. Or else I will have to tell all this to your mother the wrong way and watch how she reacts. I am sure she will be good for you in the morning and for your go sets." Naruto trailed off while the other shinobi left the poor Nara, face to face with an enraged Temari who won't let Shikamaru leave this encounter. Kankuro tried to stop the others, but he was then halted by Haku and Shino, who wanted a fight in the finals but wanted a little makeup when the invasions interrupted his chance. That left Naruto with his girlfriends and Kiba, who was reluctant on account the punishment the boy suffered at the hands of his family. For now, let's call him, her. But with this delays, Sasuke foolishly had gotten into conflict with Gaara in the forest. The Uchiha had heard everything about what happened and he hated it. He hated that his rival and the one person that was supposed to be weak and stay that way was slowly getting stronger, and he even have gotten not one but two girlfriends. It sickened him, and now Sasuke believes that taking advantage of the confusion will get him away from the place that only wanted his genes and sperm for their weapons. Then Sasuke realized that Gaara had set off the same energy that he had felt from Naruto at the bridge in Wave Country. So the Uchiha thought that Gaara was the one that Naruto was facing against and lost, and if Naruto couldn't defeat this boy, if Sasuke did, then he will gain back his respect he was stolen off. Sadly for the boy himself, it was not to be. Thought you could kill me with such predictable tactics and pathetic attacks? You dine me of my vengeance, and with your blood, I will be able to kill both the Mizu Shinobi and the Uzumaki, Gaara shouted, almost snapping, but was able to send his sands against the Bond Uchiha and kill the boy. But then the attack froze solid only centimeters from Sasuke's heart. I am afraid that your killing mood has expired, and I will take you to the compost where you will be used for better soil. That voice was like a confident but cool shinobi in charge, and it was so familiar to both boys, it caused them to feel a shiver trough their bodies. They all turned to see, in the light of the sun like an action hero, Naruto Uzumaki and his girls on a tree branch. Dobe Uzumaki, both Shinon shouted, and the blonde just nodded and seemingly froze the entire forest with the expectation of his girls, while Sasuke was now trapped in a net of frozen sand and Gaara's legs were frozen stiff. Let's rumble for good times, Gaara. You will come later, Sasuke. Like always, Naruto said, ignoring the glare of hate and bloodthirst out of the Uchiha to focus on Gaara. That action can be proved too complicated, as it can cause a history of pain to repeat and yet create a future so bright it can't be looked at without going blind. Thought you could kill me with such predictable tactics and pathetic attacks? You dine me of my vengeance, and with your blood, I will be able to kill both the Mizu Shinobi and the Uzumaki, Gaara shouted, almost snapping, but was able to send his sands against the Bond Uchiha and kill the boy. But then the attack froze solid only centimeters from Sasuke's heart. I am afraid that your killing mood has expired, and I will take you to the compost where you will be used for better soil. That voice was like a confident but cool shinobi in charge, and it was so familiar to both boys, it caused them to feel a shiver trough their bodies. They all turned to see, in the light of the sun like an action hero, Naruto Uzumaki and his girls on a tree branch. Dobe Uzumaki, both Shinon shouted, and the blonde just nodded and seemingly froze the entire forest with the expectation of his girls, while Sasuke was now trapped in a net of frozen sand and Gaara's legs were frozen stiff. Let's rumble for good times, Gaara. You will come later, Sasuke. Like always, Naruto said, ignoring the glare of hate and bloodthirst out of the Uchiha to focus on Gaara. That action can be proved too complicated, as it can cause a history of pain to repeat and yet create a future so bright it can't be looked at without going blind. Back at the village and with the cage in battle, the other Konoha shinobi struggle fend off the forces that came in all directions. It seemed like the invaders never stopped coming. But the Jonin were cleaning through the forces as easily as hot knives though thought butter. It will seem that the ambush was only a minor inconvenience and showed off just how well Konoha shinobi can react to such things. Maybe Konoha's strength really wasn't all talk, and especially since they got just the right allies. The Kiri shinobi there for the benefit of the Chunin exams finals had helped with the other Konoha forces and helped even the number odds a little. They were so good that they might as well skip Chunin and become Jonin with their mastery over Suiten and their other techniques based on the animal behaviors and attitudes of the sea predators. Yosh! Mighty Guy yelled as he sent 3 Ado and Suna shinobi through a brick wall for a good knockout shot. That makes 45. You are falling behind, Kakashi, my eternal rival. Guy looked at Kakashi, who had been standing onto a pile of defeated shinobi. 50, Kakashi said in a bored tone that got Guy tumbling to the ground at his failure to try and beat the one-eyed Cyclops. Then he was about to counter Samato and Sunakunoichi until he saw their well-developed figures and halted in his tracks with a blush hidden under his mask, leaving him open to attacks. Jukasame no Hata. Those Kunoichi were washed up and scraped by an unseen force that saved the prevented Cyclops of a Jonin. You really need to pay more attention, otherwise I may need to listen to Naruto about how you are such a pervert of a shinobi. Why, thank you, Kiri shinobi, and watch your back. Kakashi lazy said, and took out some of the enemy forces that took the chance while Akonami of Kiri was scolding the Jonin. Thanks, and that wasn't a compliment, Akonami said before joining the orders in taking out the invading forces. And while the ground forces are being taken care of, the cage were at a tough spot against 2 undead foes and a Sanin against them. They just were wondering why Orochimaru was losing his breath rather easily and used low-level jutsu a little too much, no big ones to take real damage. I am sorry that I have to do this, Mei-san. I wanted to see that you live and yet the record for first kage of all time. Hashirama could control his mind and mouth, but the seal implanted in his body was too strong for even him. I am getting tired of that, Hashirama, and stop it before I get the impression that you are a ladies' man instead of the god of shinobi they called you back then. Mei hated to see a fellow Kage act so shameless in front of her. Yotan, Yokai no Jutsu, Mei spat out a stream of acidic mud from her throat protected by her chakra. It spilled all over the rooftop and melted off some of Hashirama's undead body that was already healing at a very slow rate. I will keep this up. I have enough chakra to go all day and I will see that you will melt along with the rest of your womanizing ways. I will not be looked down on as the Mizukage. Meanwhile, Hiruzen was attempting to make it past his old age against one of his former teachers and one of his former students. His Dodenjutsu were helping against Tobirama's Suten and Hiruzen can used his Katen against both foes. What is wrong, Orochimaru? You were always one to barely even get tired in a battle like this. Have you really got out of shape? Shut up, sensei. I am having a bad time trying to recover from that technique you taught the Uzumaki boy. Orochimaru revealed his rare states of anger that surprised Hiruzen quite bit. Orochimaru was always so cool as much as he was cunning and cruel. But Tobirama was curiosity about something else. So the Uzumakis have survived the trials and dangers of time, huh? How come I see any forces from Uzugakure? The second Hokage said, and this time Hiruzen gave the answer, because there is only one Uzumaki left, sensei. The rest of the clan were slain by the combined forces of Iwa, Suna and Kiri in the long distance past. It is all down to young Naruto, Hiruzen said, and instead of anger, Tobirama was laughing. And who has the right head to call the hope of the Uzumakis after a ramen topping? Tobirama could have laughed more, but Hiruzen stuck out on his head with his staff, destroying the head for now. Hiruzen then went all out on the headless body of the Hokage. Naruto was right, there is one way to face against the undead, they are still bound by their senses. Cut off the head and 4 of the 5 senses and you gain the upper hand. Hiruzen thought to himself as he used his diamond staff to knock Tobirama away and set him ablaze, and focusing on Orochimaru. Now I don't recall teaching Naruto any jutsu that could have caused this mess. You are Orochimaru / he never asks for any jutsu and I barely have the time to do it myself. You didn't? That brat did the reverse of the Kinjutsu, unlocking of the 8 gates and sealed half of mine. Orochimaru yelled when he realized that he had been barking off the wrong tree all along. Then he is growing very well, Orochimaru. I dare say that if this keeps up, he might be able to kill you. I hope to hear about it somehow, since you are still the cowardly snake you always been who finally shows his true colors at the worst possible time. Now face me, Hiruzen said with a taunting smile and charged at Orochimaru, who took out his Kusanagi sword from his mouth very painfully and took a stance to at least take in some of the future damage. XXXXX. Meanwhile, in the forest that looked like a war zone has taken place there, with broken tree branches and bark, all encased in ice. Looks like this is it, Gaara, Natsu said in an ominous tone as he stared down the Suna redhead who lied on the ground helpless. It was a great race, but I have crossed the finish line first. It is time to end it, just hurry up. I don't know how much longer I can stay conscious. That is what is keeping this demon from escaping my body, Gaara yelled in a concerned tone that was out of character for someone who loved only himself. Fine, Gaara, Natsu said, and some of the leftover ice around them moved to Naruto's hand and formed a makeshift spear. You lose. Naruto moved to make the final strike, but it never came. Arg. Naruto felt a familiar pain of something piercing his backside and coming out of his front side. It was one of the makeshift spears out of icicles that Naruto had scattered in his fight against the sands of Gaara. You are right, Dobi. Now that was a voice that neither one of the shinobi ever want to hear again. You did lose and now you don't have your girls to help you. Sasuke Uchiha, someone that was forgotten by both shinobi during their fight. Naruto gritted through his teeth to be helpless to hear his precious girls being told off with Sasuke's disgusting voice. I made sure they just won't go down so easily. They were lucky I don't have all time in the world to waste on them. Sasuke taunted Naruto, who looked at the backstabbing Uchiha with hatred while hiding his relief that Sasuke didn't try to harass or rape his girlfriends. Then Sasuke tossed the wounded blonde by the handle of the icicle spear, without any remorse or mercy left. You are pathetic, Suna shinobi. For losing to a dobi whose real weapon is his good luck, but luck is nothing to real skill and real blood of the elites as I am. Sasuke's hands started to glow with lightning that moved so fast, it sounded as if 1,000 birds were chirping all at once. Time to die. Sasuke thrusted with all his might but felt nothing but sand when he planted his hand into the Suna shinobi. That was a fake Gaara that was made, and the real Gaara just managed to switch it with his place. Looks like it worked after all, Nisan. Sasuke heard a deep voice coming from behind him, and when the Uchiha swirled to look, he saw Gaara. He saw the redhead from Suna in complete and perfect health holding up Naruto, who still had the cowardly wound that the Uchiha had to give to him. Yes. Cough, it did. You girls can come out now, Naruto said in a weak voice. That very spot was where got his first wound from a backstabbing traitor and coward, and it hurt twice as much as it did well over 2 months ago. Sasuke just saw that Hinata and Sakura that he thought that he had tied up tight. "What's the matter, Uchiha? Surprised to see us?" "We were expecting that," Hinata said in a more confident tone that gave Sasuke goosebumps and relief to her allies in their fight. "Yeah. We even brought the girls you were talking to our boyfriend about," Sakura said, and from the trees came copies of both Hinata and Sakura, but they slowly morphed and slugged to reveal different people. People that had shinobi attire and headbands belonging to Otogakure. "Why you, damn bitches." Sasuke had lost all mercy and patience and courage once he realized that he was cornered. "This isn't over, bastards. I no longer care for Konoha, it can go down for all I give a crap about. All I need to live is that my brother needs to die, at my hands and my hands alone," Sasuke shouted, and that was the last they ever saw of the Uchiha during the entire invasion. He had just vanished after a poof of smoke left a dead animal in his wake, no doubt the one that Sasuke had killed in his rage, or otherwise it was just in his way. But now it was time to get back to the village and hopefully help out driving the forces out of the village. And to top things off, when Temari and Kankuro appeared, ready to face the Konoha shinobi for their brother, "Stop, Temari, Kankuro." Gaara himself told them to stand down, remembering how they were afraid of him. "We are not fighting Konoha or Kyuubi anymore. We have lost." But, what have you done to our brothers, bastards?" Kankuro was the stubborn type, all right, not very impressive for his already poor image with makeup on and dressed in a cat suit. "They have done nothing and we are going to leave this forest and for our home in Suna." "That is an order," Gaara said again. He was just getting annoyed that his only brother was just too persistent. He just can't believe that he had to endure all this nonsense, and it is only because they are the only family left. XXXXX. Now that the invasion was lifting, with more and more shinobi come and puff out like flames after exposed to a stronger puff of breath, it seems to be more clear who is the winner of this war of an invasion. And even better, in the rooftop where the cage fought that was now overgrown due to Hashirama's bloodline Makuten or wood release over trees and plant bark, it will seem that Mei has a trump card that she was finally angry and annoyed to use now. "You know what? Steam hurts even more than boiling water. See for yourselves," Mei shouted as she pressed her hand into the rooftop as Hashirama moved in with his Makuten ready to impale her, but instead, steam emerged from the section of the roof he was standing on. The impact was enough to push Hashirama back, and the steam was hot enough to eat away at the wooden roots and the undead body of the Shodai Hokage. Juki Hatake no Hain. From everywhere else, Orochimaru had to get caught in a geyser that burst out of the roof under seconds. Tobirama also found himself a victim of this attack, even though he was able to protect himself by covering him in water that dosed the hot steam on his undead body. The real icebreaker came from where the Sound Four were placed in to hold up the Four Violent Flames formation. The 3 male members of the Sound Four had to be exposed to the steam while under the sole female member's feet. The support stands had burst instead. She was spared of any burns. But now that with 3 of the Sound Four out for the count due to the exposure of the steaming water and the footing of the female member lost, the Four Violent Flames formation couldn't be held up any longer. It dissipated and caused all access to the route where the cage were fighting in, which included the Anbu. "Sound 4, we are retreating. Now!" Orochimaru yelled out with what is left of his strength, and his Sound 4 ignored their burns to disappear with their dying master within a sunshine. With that carried throughout the village by the wind, the Ado shinobi all fled while the Suna shinobi stayed behind in hopes of actually hanging in to beat Konoha. Instead they were overwhelmed, and the troops from the desert had just barely escaped from the village in the forest. Konoha and their new ally in war, Kyuubi, had just won the invasion of Ado and Suna. XXXXX. Now that Orochimaru and his Sound 4 had fled, it was now time to clean up the village. And with an investigation had come up with signs that during the chaos, one of the Ado shinobi located the prison where Sasuke was being held until he was just ripe enough to be extracted of his sperm to be used to make more Uchiha children. It will seem that this infiltrator forgot to check if there were already sperm already extracted and stored. In this case there were, so Sasuke's running away wasn't a total loss. There is still a young homicidal maniac out in the Fire Country now looking for anyone that can lead him to his older brother and kill him. And so, a few days later, "Attention everyone," Hiruzen said from his chair in the Hokage Tower, after Mei Terumi had to leave Konoha to return to her own village try to work something out for mating their neutral country during the invasion of Orochimaru. "I will now give the promotions to Chunin. I was really hoping to do this more formally, but we all know who to blame for this." Silence reigned over the shinobi, and they kept their thoughts of cursing at Orochimaru for interrupting the Chunin exams to get at the age leader's head. First, Shikamaru Nara. Hiruzen started, and the lazy boy was patted on the back rather hard by a grinning Naruto who only cringed that his old scar had opened up and he had to burn it in order to help out with the remaining forces, so now it is even uglier. For well-placed moves and brilliant strategy as well as devolution to your comrades that has proven to be stronger than your clan's accursed laziness. Some snickered at the Nara who blushed red at the jab that was true about his clan. I grant the rank of Chunin so that you will remain learning and become an even better Nara. And that you will even break the mold of a Nara once you become the next clan head. Troublesome. Oh well, thank you Hokage-sama, Shikamaru said in the infamous trademark of the entire Nara clan as he received a vest filled with pockets and a parchment that proved that he had got his promotion. Next, Shino Aburame, Hiruzen said the next name on the list, and the boy from the Bug clan made one step forward. You have faced all of your opponents with your clan's famous calmness and also a well-placed mind even in the face of danger. Please honor this new rank so that you may become one of the best leaders ever made. Good luck. Shino nodded the whole way and took the Chunin vest and verification parchment. Thank you Hokage-sama, Shino said in an emotionless tone that yet still gave off faint signs of joy and gratitude. Next, Haku, the girl from Wave stepped forward. You have fooled us all and in a very good way by showing us your techniques without any of the weaknesses shown, as your foes didn't have the time to come up with a. You could have easily taken the top seat of the Chunin exams if Naruto will allow it. For someone with a bad mood, Hiruzen snickered along with everyone else at the jab that made Naruto blush in embarrassment that gotten some ice on the floor until both Sakura and Hinata kissed him on both of the blonde's cheeks, melting the ice and proving everyone's point. Anyway, I will grant you the rank of Chunin if you can promise me to never make it out with arrogance for your fellow Chunin and the Junon who didn't do well enough to receive the rank. I will Hokage-sama, Haku said with the oath of humbleness and modesty as she received the vest and parchment. Next, Sakura Haruno and Hinata Hyuga. Now that was a different announcement, and yet Naruto's girlfriends all stepped forward after getting a good squeeze from their man. I normally do them separately, but I am not in the mood of saying the same thing twice, and that will happen if I did you two separately. Understand? Both girls nodded. It was clear that even on a day like this, the Hokage was in a bad mood. All I have to say to both of you is. Hiruzen drew his breath, making both Kunoichi nervous again. You all have come a long way. You have proven us all wrong from what you were like back in the academy. This is nothing sort of a miracle you both and Naruto pulled off like magicians. I grant that both of you are the Chunin rank so that you might lead a revolution of turning any girl into Kunoichi. Make us proud once again please. Hi, Hokage-sama. This time both girls responded with vigor and spirit that at least lifted Hiruzen's bad mood. Lastly, everyone wanted to hear the last person to receive the promotion even though the answer could be anticlimactic, Naruto Uzumaki. Looks like they have spoken a little too soon and the blonde stepped forward. I am tempted Naruto. You have faced against the very shinobi who was powerful enough for someone like Orochimaru to consider his ultimate weapon against us, and yet you were able to bring him down with very little trouble. Jinchuriki who have awakened their powers through stress and danger are considered to be high-class jonin in power, and yet you still triumphed. You must have the best of luck, but that isn't enough to skip all the way to jonin instead of chunin. Everyone gasped at the Hokage wanting to break a few eggs in order to get a more suiting reward for this blonde that has been showing everyone wrong about him. So I am giving the special promotion out of the ones given to Junon during the exams. You are now a special chunin. You will have additional power to oversee other chunin as well as the rest of the remaining Junon. I hope you will grow and adapt to make sure I don't regret giving you this special gift. This will be the first time I ever did it once I became the Hokage. Make us even the ones in heaven proud of you. Yes Hokage-sama, Naruto shouted with the biggest smirk and vigor spirit of them all as he gotten the Chunin jacket that was more ornate than the others. He also gotten his parchment of verification, but also the one that labeled him as the Chunin above all other Chunin that came with some new gear, kunai and shuriken, as well as spare scrolls made for any types of sealing for any magnitude of effects. Now we can get to something more important than any of this, Hiruzen said, and everyone stopped admiring the new accessories. I am retiring. This time for good. Gasps were heard throughout the room. I know that you all want to know why, and I am in a bad mood because I was up late last night thinking about all this. I wanted to die there since I have no idea on when I am going to let my tinker out if I stayed in office. This time, I am confident that there will be a real successor that can survive this accursed seat. The remaining student of mine that was last seen somewhere in Fire Country. I need her to take the hat as Jiraiya has too much of a free spirit to take the hat. He will be taking Naruto and his team along with Hinata Hyuga in order to track her down and hopefully convince her to take the job. I am counting on you all. Hiruzen finished and dismissed everyone while leaving a puff of embers back to his own little room to catch up in his readings. Well girls, let's go and see if we can find Uro-Senin as soon as possible, Naruto said, and they all nodded. The rest of you need to meet up with the rest of your teams for a good cookout to celebrate, because tomorrow, you will have to either take in your new roles as well as or train for the next Chunin exams and hope for better luck that time. Naruto did his first go at his role of head Chunin, so the fellow young shinobi nodded. Naruto sure does adapt very well for his first day, doesn't he? Well girls, Let's go and see if we can find Uro-sennin as soon as possible, Naruto said, and they all nodded. The rest of you need to meet up with the rest of your teams for a good cookout to celebrate, because tomorrow, you will have to either take in your new roles as well as or train for the next Chunin exams and hope for better luck that time. Naruto did his first go at his role of head Chunin, so the fellow young shinobi nodded. Naruto sure does adapt very well for his first day, doesn't he? Have you found it yet? I have been waiting for hours and I don't like to be kept waiting, Orochimaru yelled from his bed until he started to cough up blood. He was in a dark room dressed in snake-style decor, suiting his theme. For one thing, Orochimaru looked worse to wear, as if he had made a wrong move in a battle that got his body acting out of work. Kabuto finally arrived at the bedroom of Orochimaru. Well, Orochimaru-sama, I have good news and I have bad news. The medic was still a little sarcastic of his master for some reason that Orochimaru was too busy to try and get to the bottom of. Out with it already. What is the bad news? Orochimaru got more and more impatient. Kabuto smirked. The bad news is that your body is getting more and frailer and your soul is getting more and more dependent on this technique of yours. You will need to find a new body that you can possess permanently this time, or your soul will never last in any other host for more than a day. Kabuto delivered it bluntly and Orochimaru hissed. I have a host that I am never going to leave, but he is out of my reach. I thought you said that you can make a host this time for me to possess, Orochimaru yelled through his pain, and Kabuto nodded. That is the good news. Not only did we steal a sperm sample of Sasuke during the failed invasion. Kabuto purposely trailed off to rub it into his master's face. All that planning was down the drain, not through incompetence or poor planning but also overconfidence and arrogance on Orochimaru's part. But we have found plenty of skin samples and blood from when Sasuke foolishly tried to get even with the Uzumaki while he was battling the container of the Ichibi. Maybe your short-sightedness can triple if you possess a stupid and blind boy like that. Kabuto started to laugh at his own joke, which infuriated Orochimaru, who was still too weak to kill his medic for all this humiliation. Kabuto is on his side, right? It matters not if you can create a clone of Sasuke-kun that I will possess anyways. How long will it take to fully create the clone? Kabuto nodded and stopped wasting his breath on his self-laughter. It actually depends on what age we want the clone to start off as. We can even make a clone to be 16 years old in 16 weeks, complete with the physical strengths and jutsu we have taken notes off while no one noticed, Kabuto said before he got a little sad with a hidden smirk under his facial expression. Unfortunately, your body will only last a few weeks, so you will have to possess a little boy to save your pale and dying ass. Shut that mouth. Arg. Orochimaru retorted and then recoiled his pain. Kabuto said nothing and made no move to help his master because by now, the medic was used to the snake sage's overflowing pride. Then we need to get me more time, and that will happen because I am going to get healed by her. And if she refuses, then I will possess her for my new body until the clone is made. If you do, then that female host will die prematurely. Kabuto for once protested but cleverly hid it in blunt facts to remind Orochimaru instead. She is already wasting away everything she was born with. She is a disgrace who happens to be still as good as she did before she left her home. I can get her prize jutsu and end her misery right on the spot. And no one will miss her, Orochimaru said in his usual cruelty and disregard for human life. Just prepare me to leave in a few hours, I just happen to be told where she is heading next. Orochimaru never waited for Kabuto's response and went back to bed to rest. Meanwhile, Kabuto snuck out the chambers to think about all this. Things aren't looking good. I will need to find some way to inform Naruto-kun about what is going on. I will need to act it out in order to keep our secret hidden. Forgive me, Naruto-kun, Sasuke-kun. Kabuto finished his thoughts and entered a dark room that had only machinery and a pod that had a human infant floating in the life support devices. I need to create this in order to make the plan act out. After it is born, then I can't predict or stop anything from happening. I will have to leave it all to you, Naruto-kun. You can make anything happen. XXXXX. So how are we going to find this woman, Uro-sennin? Naruto said. If she is in Hi-no-Kuni, then how are we going to catch up? She doesn't seem to be the type of woman to stay in one place. You got that right, brat, and that is why we need to rely on what there is to know about Tsunade-chan, Jiraiya said in an unusually serious tone given his laid-back and optimistic view on life. Naruto was just glad that he was not trying to risk his life with his girlfriends. They can kill him if he push their buttons too much. You mean like appearance and behaviors and habits? Sakura was the most excited, with Hinata following closely behind. They both look up to Tsunade because on how she was looked down for a reliable shinobi, all because she was a woman. Sakura and Hinata both have their own way of relating to her. Sakura came from a civilian family with no real experience in shinobi affairs or life, Hinata was considered to be the disgrace to her clan all because she was the eldest daughter and not the eldest son, while Haku was seen as no different than a demon since she awakened her power and was forced to hide that she is a girl from all those who were an inch close to raping her. Exactly, and that is what I can share with you since from my resources, she is just the same as before. Jiraiya answered before getting into detail. She has never wanted to age well and uses a technique similar to the Henge no Jutsu that not only fights the appearance of aging but also keeps her fitness in check. She loves to gamble even though she has the worst luck in the world, and she loves to drink sake when she is feeling down. So that means that we need to search every casino and bar we come across and ask if she had seen Tsunade. That would work if we have a picture of her, Naruto said, and that was a very valid point. Of course I have a picture of her and now I wish you will not doubting me. I will find her. I have the best spy network in all of Hinokuni, Jiraiya said in hopes that we'll get some respect out of these disrespectful brats. I didn't know that there were more spy networks in Hinokuni than yours. Are you trying to inflate your ego again, Uro-senin? Naruto said and smirked, seeing that Jiraiya started to sweat in nervousness. See, can we just start looking? We are burning in the sun, Jiraiya shouted, trying to save face. Naruto and his girls nodded. That old man was too easy to bend and play with once you finally figure out just the right buttons to press. XXXXX. Meanwhile, in another part of Hinokuni, but you have finally won the lottery, let's stay for the money we all won. It will help your debits for sure. Outside a gambling center, much like a casino only no gambling were done with the exemption of drawing lotteries, was a light-skinned woman of average height with brown eyes and straight, blonde hair. Her hair is waist-length with shoulder-length bangs framing both sides of her face. Her hair was also tied into two loose ponytails. A woman of her prime, she has a slender frame. She is wearing a grass-green haori with the kanji for gamble written in black on the back, inside a red circle. Underneath she wears a gray, kimono-style blouse with no sleeves, held closed by a broad, dark bluish-gray obi that matches her pants. Her blouse is closed quite low, revealing her sizable cleavage. She wears open-toed, strappy black sandals with high heels and red polish on both her fingernails and toenails. She also wears a soft pink lipstick. She also is wearing some kind of necklace on her chest. This beautiful woman was holding a ticket showing that she indeed picked the winning number. But for some reason, she was not happy to see this, like it was actually bad news. She was just walking away while ignoring the protests of another woman. This one was a lot younger in appearance, almost like in her late teens. She was a fair-skinned woman of average height and slender build with black eyes and hair. Her hair is straight and shoulder-length with bangs that cover her ears and frame her face. She is now wearing a long bluish-black kimono with white trimmings, held closed by a white obi, and open-toed sandals with low heels. Finally, she was carrying a pig of a light pinkish color, much like any other ordinary pig. Its cheeks blush in a darker shade of the same tint as her skin. It was wearing a pearl collar and a dark red jacket. You know that we need to move after I win at anything, Shizune. It is a sign that bad things are going to happen. The first woman addressed her companion, who was worried about the former while the pig went oink like normal pigs. But we are still in debt, Tsunade-sama. We need the money, and it is not like we are to be found by debt collectors if we stay. If they do, then we will just repel them with the money we won. You have got to stop this urge. Shizune retorted, trying to stare down the former, named Tsunade, until she gave up and hurried along. Maybe they are being superstitious, but it has happened before and it happened too many times to stop believing it. Every time something bad happens, and it always follows Tsunade actually winning for a change, and that is a fact that she never wins under normal circumstances. It's just how everyone wants to see it as. XXXXX. Tell me, Orochimaru-sama, just what kind of woman are we looking for? Kabuto asked as he tried to help his master down the stairs and towards the same place in mind. We are looking for the best healer possible in the entire elemental nations, and the best part is that we cannot risk any intervention from anyone, because who goes looking for such a hopeless woman like Tsunade? Orochimaru smirked as he explained just why he was so confident about all this. But how are we going to convince her to do what we ask of her? Your reputation for being a traitor can even make a woman you keep calling Tsunade-sama unwilling to heal you. Kabuto brought up. This could be my answer to why Orochimaru is being so short-minded. Because she once had a brother and a fiancé. Both I can easily bring back, and she will have no choice but to do what I say. Orochimaru had the biggest grin on his face. Kabuto, for once, had his eyes open in surprise. But that will mean that we will have to tell her that they are still dead. We already failed at using the Kushios, Edo Tensei, and you are still below half your full chakra reserves. Can you actually pull this off? Kabuto was still the doctor, and things like this are not to be ignored by doctors. Shut up. She will heal me, and that is final because I said so. Kabuto, you are trending on thin ice, and I will have to kill you myself if you get too far. Orochimaru hissed at his medic and limped down the hall like an old man, refusing to show his weakness because of his pride. Kabuto was not amused or stirred by the threat. You really are losing your touch. I may have felt worse from you before the Chunin exams, but you are growing old and frail. He can actually scare me, not you. Not anymore. Kabuto glared behind the shadows before joining Orochimaru again, but he was prepared and with a scalpel hidden from sight under his clothes and from Orochimaru with his chakra. It is scary what an inventive genius and an unlimited supply of energy could do when you mix them up. But how are we going to convince her to do what we ask of her? Your reputation for being a traitor can even make a woman you keep calling Tsunade-sama unwilling to heal you. Kabuto brought up, this could be my answer to why Orochimaru is being so short-minded. Because she once had a brother and a fiancé. Both I can easily bring back and she will have no choice but to do what I say. Orochimaru had the biggest grin on his face. Kabuto, for once, had his eyes open in surprise. But that will mean that we will have to tell her that they are still dead. We already failed at using the Kushios, Edo Tensei, and you are still below half your full chakra reserves. Can you actually pull this off? Kabuto was still the doctor and things like this are not to be ignored by doctors. Shut up. She will heal me and that is final because I said so. Kabuto, you are trending on thin ice and I will have to kill you myself if you get too far. Orochimaru hissed at his medic and limped down the hall like an old man, refusing to show his weakness because of his pride. Kabuto was not amused or stirred by the threat. You really are losing your touch. I may have felt worse from you before the Chunin exams, but you are growing old and frail. He can actually scare me, not you. Not anymore. Kabuto glared behind the shadows before joining Orochimaru again, but he was prepared and with a scalpel hidden from sight under his clothes and from Orochimaru with his chakra. It is scary what an inventive genius and an unlimited supply of energy could do when you mix them up. And so, Jiraiya had led the newly promoted Chunin through various casinos and bars, but Tsunade wasn't there. At least they were able to get a good lead because the last stop happened to have Tsunade, and that lady was so drunk that the owner of the bar actually heard them talking about where they were going. But it was getting dark, so it was time to turn in. Jiraiya said that he was going to some meeting with some of his spy network, but Naruto and the girls knew better. Still, they said nothing because they knew that he will be back heartbroken once again, and also that they have something that was occupying them as of this very moment. There, Naruto's room was one that he had to share with the girls, all because Jiraiya was not only a perverted old man, but he was the stereotypical stingy perverted old man as well. So that single room all to the kids and one for himself and his company was what happened at that hotel. Inside, we love you, Naruto-kun. You are the best little brother. Thanks, girls. Naruto had gotten lucky with both the bars and the casinos because every time, he will nearly gamble the casino owners out of business, and that he was able to get Jiraiya out of trouble by smooth-talking the girls into showing him all the best parts about the cities. The girls didn't mind because those whores and hit girls were actually ones with good taste and introduced the girls to all the fashion, clothing and jewelry stores that Naruto was able to afford with plenty left to spare. Poor Jiraiya was always left sulking in the corner where he was anyway grateful that he didn't get pounded by offended girls and jealous boyfriends or husbands. No one told him that even Kunoichi had this job. Right now the girls were now trying out their new clothes, and what is new is that they don't care if there was a bathroom for trying on dresses. Naruto didn't mind them changing in the same room as him. He just hoped that Jiraiya doesn't know and tried to get the same lucky peek under their clothes as Naruto himself. But there was these budge in his pants that just won't go limp or get smaller for the girls' comfort. Naruto just crossed his legs hoping that the girls won't notice and feel like they're being ogled by their own boyfriend/younger brother. To do that, Naruto was actually half-looking, hoping that if he didn't have a full view, he might bore out his restless member. Too bad that made him fail to notice on how the girls were not only not minding a boy in their presence as they changed even their underpants. The feeling of being so free was actually making them all horny. It has been well over a month since Hinata and Sakura had their fun with Naruto and the inch was killing them. Haku even felt that way too, since she always heard it from the two girls every time she was allowed to take a small break from her job. How about we do it again, but this time, Haku will join us? Hinata brought up thanks to her newly found confidence. Sakura was neutral since she wanted to do something with Naruto no matter what it was, but Haku is still single and hasn't even found the right boy for her to lose her virginity to. But how can they do it when they are siblings? Sakura said until Haku started to giggle perversely. Hey, even women can feel the same sexual desires as men. I always wanted someone like him, like a little brother, but if we did do it, we will be in no danger of breaking laws. After all, the only thing missing about us being siblings is that we share the same bloodline, Haku said, and I have to blame you girls for finally getting me horny, and I can't stand it. I wanted to feel what you girls did while I was in my own room in Konoha, missing out the fun. Hinata and Sakura blushed, remembering that they indeed had fun with Naruto when they were among the first to arrive at the tower in the Forest of Death of the first day of the second exam. "Are you girls done with changing? We could sure use some sleep right about now." All of the kunoichi then heard the voice of the very boy they were talking about, and after looking out a window, they saw that it was the very early hours of nightfall. XXXXX. But sleeping was not what they had in mind, and they turned to face Naruto, half looking in a cute and noble attempt way to stop himself from being a pervert. They smirked and took out any garment they were wearing and closed all the shutters and locked all the doors, leaving Naruto all alone in a locked and closed-off room with 3 horny and nude kunoichi. They walked over to the blonde who had moved from that spot on one of the beds inside the room and kissed him with passion. "Girls, MMTH, wha?" Naruto was really taken by surprise but soon lost it and kissed his girlfriend's back as well. But that turning on had vanished when Haku kissed him on the lips, which shocked him. "Haku? Sorry Naruto-kun, but I can't take it anymore. I don't want to stay a virgin all because I chose you to take my virginity and I am your older sister. I don't want to live like this anymore. Please let me enjoy you like the girls do," Haku said, and there was pure discomfort and longing so clear that it was clear within her eyes to even a blind man. Naruto then kissed Haku square on the lips, which blew away her strength like a leaf in a sudden gust of wind. She then found the strength to hug Naruto and kissed him back. Lemon begins. "So girls, Haku needs to lose it all and I can't leave you all out of the fun. Would you help me?" Naruto was like the well-behaved little boy asking of an adult in a perverse style. He didn't get spoken words as an answer, but when Sakura and Hinata started to grope at Haku while Naruto handled the kissing, that was enough for him. Ooh, ah. Haku was enjoying it when Hinata got a little too bold and tackled a sensitive side when Haku had to lower her guard down, which caused a spike in sexual pleasure. Sakura giggled and placed her hand where Hinata's was, at the area directly above the opening of the vagina. It is always sensitive there, either to make out or to masturbate. I am gonna," Haku muttered until she let out a climax right into the hands of the girls helping out their soul man handle this virgin. "Please." That was a major turn on, and Sakura took the first turn of actually using her woman-shaped hand to pierce the vagina, while Hinata felt a little need for some female domination and had Haku lick and suck the climax juice off of the lavender heiress's fingers. But that meant Haku couldn't enjoy Naruto anymore on her lips since both girls were feeling her up. But he wasn't going to let himself get left out on the fun. "Hinata, take this," Naruto said in a lowly but sexy voice, and Barley gave the dominating heiress enough time to prepare for a sudden penetration. Hinata groaned as she felt the most wonderful pain in her life returning to surge all through her body. Then she felt none of the pussy juice on her fingers and removed them from Haku's mouth, just in time for Sakura to get off inserting her entire hand into Haku's pussy and kissed her in order to use up that pent-up horny energy. Now Haku was seeing Hinata be the lucky one to feel Naruto's dick into her pussy. She was about to ask how Sakura is not bothered until she saw another blonde sneaking up on the pink-haired kunoichi who was licking at the pussy juice on her hands until she moaned sharply and sexy when that clone shoved its member as big as the original's up Sakura's own pussy. This was so exciting and sexy that Haku was starting to feel a little frightened. She could just imagine how good it felt for both experienced girls to feel a boy's dick up their asses. Then she felt a pair of hands on her shoulders and saw a third blonde behind her as well. "Don't be afraid, Haku-chan. Even the horniest women get a little rattled before losing their virginity. That is why I let my personal clones take care of my girlfriends, while I will give you the best for the one that has yet to be no longer a virgin." "Why, you are the real one," Haku said in her exhaustion from feeling both a sudden burst of energy that came and went just as fast, making her feel nearly all tired. The real Naruto nodded and took Haku to the other bed while Hinata and Sakura enjoyed the attention the clones were giving them and even themselves. Haku just couldn't put their eyes off of them while Naruto explored her exposed and beautiful body. It sent pleasurable shivers down her spine as she enjoyed being vulnerable in hands of the man she trusted with her virginity. "SSH. Don't speak, you will need all that energy to enjoy riding to heaven and riding all the way back. I will make it all worth it," Naruto said smoothly into Haku's ear, and Haku couldn't protect herself from being so horny that she was starting to twitch and itch at her pussy. Naruto must have noticed because before Haku could try to scratch the itch, she was lifted with her pussy directly above Naruto's erect and hardcore dick. Haku drooled at how strong and solid it looked even and braced herself for penetration. "Here we go, and keep your eyes closed. You will enjoy it better than ever until we get better and stronger. You will love what the muscles between our legs can pleasure us," Naruto said, and Haku didn't have the energy to even open her eyes and she lost her focus and let the tension in her body left for the ultimate, mind-blowing pleasure. It hit her harder than a steel bag of bricks and iron, and Haku shivered worse than when she was trying to stay warm in the cold country of her long-lost homeland. She just couldn't wrap her head around all that pleasure that came at her without warning and without much holding back. She could just feel all of her sensitive nerve cells going into overdrive and her legs turned to lead. Haku turned to Naruto, who seemed to be enjoying her tight and virgin pussy as much as she was enjoying it pierced with a spear of a dick. With her eyes, she told Naruto on how she couldn't move her legs. Naruto smirked with a perverted grin that didn't even scare Haku but filled her with more sexual excitement and anticipation for more of this pleasurable pain. Naruto grabbed her hips where it felt the best under his magical touch that Haku felt, while Naruto handled her gently to get her time to recover from that sudden outburst that nearly left her numb. Soon Haku realized that she felt a lot better and was ready to take the real heat. She signaled Naruto by making a disappointment moan, which successfully got the blonde to speed it up until every push was as pleasurable as it can possibly be. Haku couldn't take all it in and released a climax several times, and Naruto was still going strong. She could just feel the budging dick well in her pussy, pulsing against her sensitive pussy walls. "Alright Haku, here comes our own climax and we have saved it the entire time, so take it," Naruto said, and before Haku could say a word, she moaned when she was pulled until Naruto's entire dick was in her pussy. She then felt something race and rocket through it and hit her womb hard. Haku felt like she was filled to the brim, and that was it. She couldn't handle another makeout session if Naruto can hold in his climax after she released so many of her own. Maybe being the girl with the right to be fucked by a boy like Naruto will be something that will be just perfect for Haku after all. Lemon ends. That was fun, girls. Even you were amazing, Haku-chan. Naruto said that last part in hesitation in order to give the said girl the chance to see what his only worry was about. She just kissed him on the cheek. "Call me what you will like, and I enjoyed losing my virginity to you too. Now I feel even safer and more secure. Please let me in the family when it is time, Naruto-kun?" Haku said coolly, and Naruto blushed but didn't protest. He just let a strong-willed girl like Haku and his own big sister do what she wanted. She was a big girl after all. "I will keep the seat warm until then." Naruto then drifted off, going to sleep with his girlfriends, cuddling with his arms nude like an undressed little girl hugging her teddy bear is the only source of warmth. "I know you will, Naruto-kun. You may be our slave, but I never seen one like you before. You might actually make us your slaves." "Oh well, trying to have the perfect life between man and women is very complicated," Haku said and nodded off on Naruto's chest. She didn't care if it reeked of sweat to the point of being covered in it. Somehow it was enough to make her fall asleep comfortable all the same. XXXXX. That very night, the hotel where the make session had taken place was being watched so hard that it was reflected on the eyes of some strangers in black while wearing rain hats. Then the light from the moon glazed along the ground like a snake until it reached their faces and showed their appearances perfectly. "Is this where this brat with the dual bloodlines is supposed to be found?" said Kisame Hoshigaki, who was a very tall, muscular shinobi, and was the tallest member in Akatsuki. He had a distinctive shark-like appearance. He also has small, round, white eyes, gill-like facial markings under his eyes, and actual gills on his shoulders, and sharp triangular teeth, much like the other members of the Kiri no Shinobi Gatana Shichinin Shu. He also styled his blue hair in the form of a shark fin. As a member of Akatsuki, he also wore dark purple nail polish. He also switched to a modified version of Kirigakuru's forehead protector, which covered his ears as well. After defecting from the village, he donned the typical cloak members of Akatsuki wore, and underneath it he was bare-chested. He also wore a brown sash across the front and back of his cloak to hold his sword, Seimata, in place. He wore his Akatsuki ring on his left ring finger, bearing the kanji for south, which was yellow in color. "Yes. Our leader wants his prisoner and the boy rubbed out for good. And we are the strongest under him, so we must not fail." Right next to Kisame is his partner Itachi Uchiha, formerly of Konoha. Itachi had onyx eyes under which were long, pronounced tear troughs. He had jet black hair that was pulled back in a low ponytail, and his face was framed with center-parted bangs that extended to his chin. The ponytail and bangs grow longer over the years. His overall appearance is very similar to Sasuke's. As a member of Akatsuki, he wore the standard Akatsuki cloak and a slashed Konoha forehead protector to symbolize his broken ties with the village. The cloak's high collar would obscure his ponytail. He would sometimes unbutton his cloak to mid-chest and rest his left arm there, rather than in the sleeve. Under his cloak he wore clothes similar to the rest of Akatsuki, mesh armor with navy accents under an identical t-shirt with a simple white belt around the waist and dark blue pants. On his right ring finger was his Akatsuki ring, which was red and bore the kanji for vermilion. He wore purple nail polish on his fingers and toes and a necklace that had 3 silver rings with red gems inside them. "How about you go for the Kyuubi while I do the legs? I hate prey that can run away pretty fast," Kisame said in a sadist and blood-thirsty way. The Seimata on his back started to growl and twitch, as if it too was hungry for flesh meat. "Do what you want when the time is right, Kisame. For now we must wait until no one is around and awake. We are ninjas after all." Itachi muttered and got relaxed into a patient stance while ignoring the disappointed groans from Kisame. Later that very next day, they sprang into action. They walked through the morning staff, acting like guests from a foreign country and that their outfits are standard issue. With Itachi's special eyes that could tell the difference between civilian and shinobi and the difference between the significance among the shinobi based on the chakra signatures, they were able to find the right floor and section where Naruto can be found. Knocking on the door like regular visitors, Itachi and Kisame waited for Naruto to open the door, but instead they found it to be left open. When they arrived in the room, it was like the room was never even touched. Itachi was frustrated that he somehow had gotten the doors wrong and slammed it shut, but it opened again. "Are you the ones who want me?" Naruto said after answering the door to see two tall and dark strangers all wearing cloaks he never seen before, and one of these strangers looked like Sasuke, only older. They were shocked and even showed it a little before trying to hide it from Naruto. Showing surprise to an enemy shinobi is the same as giving your assassin the chance to take a swipe at your neck. "I thought you said that this brat doesn't know about us, Itachi. What is the big deal?" Kisame said as he peered over Itachi's shoulder. "He is not. How did you know about our group, Naruto-kun?" Naruto himself sneered and snorted. "Please, strangers don't get to call me that, and what is this about you being part of a group? You are not involved with drugs, are you? They are really bad for you, tilde." Naruto taunted and acted like a kid scolding a very naughty adult. Itachi didn't know what to think of Naruto, but Kisame did, and rolling on the ground was merely the result. "That kid's is alright in the head. He is staring you down and scolding you without as much as a hint of fear in his voice. You really are losing your touch, Itachi," Kisame bellowed while Naruto noticed that while his chakra was slowly leaking out to form a sensing aura, his chakra was being drawn to that huge and scaly sword Saimata on Kisame's back. "Here you go," Naruto said as he approached the sword and brought out some much of his seemingly limitless chakra for Saimata to eat. Immediately Kisame stopped laughing after hearing all this happening, and Saimata acted like it was enjoying the taste of Naruto's chakra, and now it wants more. Saimata might want to go to Naruto sooner or later if the blonde kept this up, but all that was forgotten when Itachi finally got his smirk back and said something that was setting off some kind of time bomb with all the tension in the atmosphere that was born from this. "So you have finally revealed your face. Huh, Sasuke?" Naruto groaned and faced the same direction as Itachi to see a very familiar traitorous boy on the run. "Itachi, you are here and I have finally did it. I have hated you from the very start, and that had gotten me all this power," Sasuke said, almost like he practiced for all this. "What a perfectionist of a selfish traitor. To kill you." As soon as Sasuke clutched the wrist of his right hand with his left hand, it started to glow nearly as bright as pure light until one can see a blade of lightning. "Reikari? Last time I heard you were going to learn the Chidori since your teacher was the genius Kakashi Hatake," Itachi remarked as Sasuke foolishly charged towards Itachi, wide open, thinking that with his Reikari clawing at the wall was enough to beat his big brother, the clan killer turned traitor. He was no more wrong, as Naruto was right when Itachi had enough time to ready himself to take in the pain done by the Raiten Jutsu, but ultimately stopped the S-rank assassination technique from killing him. "Stupid little brother. You claimed to become stronger, but instead you humiliated yourself, and now I will have to kill you," Itachi said coolly until his senses kicked in and just in time to dodge a stream of boiling hot water from hitting his eyes. That got Itachi to kick Sasuke hard in the dormant arm and launched him far into the hallway and out of the action. "I have seen why you will be the perfect duo for capturing Hokage," Naruto said as he maintained his stream of heated water while somehow was able to speak clearly all the same. "You, Itachi Uchiha, can use your Sharingan to take control over her like another one of you traitors did on the day I was born, while Kisame will drain Kuka of her essence and make her weak. But not today, guys, or ever are you going to take Kuka away from me." Naruto then moved his hands in another seal, and the stream of boiling water suddenly turning into that of a garden hose spray and covered the entire hallway in front of him in water so hot, it was about to turn to vapor. "Arg. You are getting rather annoying, brat," Kisame said while trying to avoid the worst of this water that may not harm him much, was the heated water was like an acid that will eat away anything at a slowly but surely rate. "That sword of yours eats away chakra, my chakra, and I don't like it. But all this time I had been leaking my chakra outside my body, it has been eaten. It is the same as trying to eat a sandwich while still in the lunch pail compared to when it is outside and on a napkin," Naruto said, surprising those two once again and temporary once again. They soon turned serious when Naruto did. "I am not going to let you eat away my chakra." Naruto's body then slowly started to heat up and had steam emerged from his pores. It was so strong and concentrated on that spot, the floor started to crack to the sheer pressure. "And this is why I am keeping my chakra," Naruto said before his mouth swelled up again with steam emerging from the space between his lips this time. "I am keeping my chakra to myself." That very night, The hotel where the make session had taken place was being watched so hard that it was reflected on the eyes of some strangers in black while wearing rain hats. Then the light from the moon glazed along the ground like a snake until it reached their faces and showed their appearances perfectly. "Is this where this brat with the dual bloodlines is supposed to be found?" said Kisame Hoshigaki, who was a very tall, muscular shinobi, and was the tallest member in Akatsuki. He had a distinctive shark-like appearance. He also has small, round, white eyes, gill-like facial markings under his eyes, and actual gills on his shoulders, and sharp triangular teeth, much like the other members of the Kiri no Shinobi Gatana Shichinin Shu. He also styled his blue hair in the form of a shark fin. As a member of Akatsuki, he also wore dark purple nail polish. He also switched to a modified version of Kirigakuro's forehead protector, which covered his ears as well. After defecting from the village, he donned the typical cloak members of Akatsuki wore, and underneath it he was bare-chested. He also wore a brown sash across the front and back of his cloak to hold his sword, Seimata, in place. He wore his Akatsuki ring on his left ring finger, bearing the kanji for south which was yellow in color. "Yes. Our leader wants his prisoner and the boy rubbed out for good. And we are the strongest under him so we must not fail." Right next to Kisame is his partner Itachi Uchiha, formerly of Konoha. Itachi had onyx eyes under which were long, pronounced tear troughs. He had jet black hair that was pulled back in a low ponytail and his face was framed with center-parted bangs that extended to his chin. The ponytail and bangs grow longer over the years. His overall appearance is very similar to Sasuke's. As a member of Akatsuki, he wore the standard Akatsuki cloak and a slashed Konoha forehead protector to symbolize his broken ties with the village. The cloak's high collar would obscure his ponytail. He would sometimes unbutton his cloak to mid-chest and rest his left arm there, rather than in the sleeve. Under his cloak he wore clothes similar to the rest of Akatsuki, mesh armor with navy accents under an identical t-shirt with a simple white belt around the waist and dark blue pants. On his right ring finger was his Akatsuki ring, which was red and bore the kanji for vermilion. He wore a purple nail polish on his fingers and toes and a necklace that had 3 silver rings with red gems inside them. "How about you go for the Kyuubi while I do the legs? I hate prey that can run away pretty fast," Kisame said in a sadist and blood-thirsty way. The Seimata on his back started to growl and twitch, as if it too was hungry for flesh meat. "Do what you want when the time is right, Kisame. For now we must wait until no one is around and awake. We are ninjas after all." Itachi muttered and got relaxed into a patient stance while ignoring the disappointed groans from Kisame. Later that very next day, they sprang into action. They walked through the morning staff, acting like guests from a foreign country and that their outfits are standard issue. With Itachi's special eyes that could tell the difference between civilian and shinobi and the difference between the significance among the shinobi based on the chakra signatures, they were able to find the right floor and section where Naruto can be found. Knocking on the door like regular visitors, Itachi and Kisame waited for Naruto to open the door but instead they found it to be left open. When they arrived in the room, it was like the room was never even touched. Itachi was frustrated that he somehow had gotten the doors wrong and slammed it shut but it opened again. "Are you the ones who want me?" Naruto said after answering the door to see 2 tall and dark strangers all wearing cloaks he never seen before and one of these strangers looked like Sasuke only older. They were shocked and even showed it a little before trying to hide it from Naruto. Showing surprise to an enemy shinobi is the same as giving your assassin the chance to take a swipe at your neck. "I thought you said that this brat doesn't know about us, Itachi. What is the big deal?" Kisame said as he peered over Itachi's shoulder. "He is not. How did you know about our group, Naruto-kun?" Naruto himself sneered and snorted. "Please, strangers don't get to call me that, and what is this about you being part of a group? You are not involved with drugs, are you? They are really bad for you, tilde." Naruto taunted and acted like a kid scolding a very naughty adult. Itachi didn't know what to think of Naruto but Kisame did, and rolling on the ground was merely the result. "That kid's is alright in the head. He is staring you down and scolding you without as much as a hint of fear in his voice. You really are losing your touch, Itachi," Kisame bellowed while Naruto noticed that while his chakra was slowly leaking out to form a sensing aura, his chakra was being drawn to that huge and scaly sword Seimata on Kisame's back. "Here you go," Naruto said as he approached the sword and brought out some much of his seemingly limitless chakra for Seimata to eat. Immediately Kisame stopped laughing after hearing all this happening and Seimata acted like it was enjoying the taste of Naruto's chakra and now it wants more. Seimata might want to go to Naruto sooner or later if the blonde kept this up, but all that was forgotten when Itachi finally got his smirk back and said something that was setting off some kind of time bomb with all the tension in the atmosphere that was born from this. "So you have finally revealed your face. Huh, Sasuke?" Naruto groaned and faced the same direction as Itachi to see a very familiar traitorous boy on the run. "Itachi, you are here and I have finally did it. I have hated you from the very start and that had gotten me all this power, Sasuke said, almost like he practiced for all this. What a perfectionist of a selfish traitor. To kill you. As soon as Sasuke clutched the wrist of his right hand with his left hand, it started to glow nearly as bright as pure light until one can see a blade of lightning. Reikari? Last time I heard you were going to learn the Chidori since your teacher was the genius Kakashi Hatake. Itachi remarked as Sasuke foolishly charged towards Itachi, wide open thinking that with his Reikari clawing at the wall was enough to beat his big brother, the clan killer turned traitor. He was no more wrong as Naruto was right when Itachi had enough time to ready himself to take in the pain done by the Raiten Jutsu but ultimately stopped the S-rank assassination technique from killing him. Stupid little brother. You claimed to become stronger but instead you humiliated yourself and now I will have to kill you, Itachi said coolly until his senses kicked in and just in time to dodge a stream of boiling hot water from hitting his eyes. That got Itachi to kick Sasuke hard in the doorman arm and launched him far into the hallway and out of the action. I have seen why you will be the perfect duo for capturing Hokage, Naruto said as he maintained his stream of heated water while somehow was able to speak clearly all the same. You, Itachi Uchiha, can use your Sharingan to take control over her like another one of you traitors did on the day I was born while Kisame will drain Kuka of her essence and make her weak. But not today guys or ever are you going to take Kuka away from me. Naruto then moved his hands in another seal and the stream of boiling water suddenly turning into that of a garden hose spray and covered the entire hallway in front of him in water so hot, it was about to turn to vapor. Arg. You are getting rather annoying brat, Kisame said while trying to avoid the worst of this water that may not harm him much was the heated water was like an acid that will eat away anything at a slowly but surely rate. That sword of yours eats away chakra, my chakra and I don't like it. But all this time I had been leaking my chakra outside my body, it has been eaten. It is the same as trying to eat a sandwich while still in the lunch pail compared to when it is outside and on a napkin, Naruto said surprising those two once again and temporary once again. They soon turned serious when Naruto did. I am not going to let you eat away my chakra. Naruto's body then slowly started to heat up and had steam emerged from his pores. It was so strong and concentrated on that spot, the floor started to crack to the sheer pressure. And this is why I am keeping my chakra, Naruto said before his mouth swelled up again with steam emerging from the space between his lips this time. I am keeping my chakra to myself. On the other side of town, three figures were approaching the direction of the hotel where all this is happening. For the last time Mizukage-sama, what are we doing out here? We should be in Kiri doing our duties and are you sure they can run themselves? Said one of Mei Terumi's bodyguards. He was a middle-aged man with blue hair which is styled in a moosed-up manner. His left eye was blue and his right eye was covered with an eye patch. He wore a talisman in each ear with the kanji for a humble form of Tahir written on them twice on each side. He also wore the standard striped, gray suit, with a green haori that had white trimmings that stop halfway down, over them. He was Ao, a Kirigakure Jonin and a respected veteran that fought even in the Bloodline massacre that Mei had put to a stop and became Mizukage as a result. I think that Mei-sama H has a good reason to be out of H here. The other bodyguard was even worse than Hinata back in the days of having a crush on Naruto back in the academy and before the wave mission, Chojuro. One of the disbanded Kiri no Shinobi Gatana Shichinin Shu. Chojuro has short, tufty blue hair, and dark eyes. He also has pointed, shark-like teeth, a common trait of the members of the Kiri no Shinobi Gatana Shichinin Shu as well as apprentices share. He wears square, black-rimmed glasses connected to ear protectors, a blue pinstriped shirt and camouflage pattern pants. Also, he wears his forehead protector on the front of his holster which he uses to carry Harankare, his dual-handle sword. The sword itself is wrapped in bandages leaving only the double hilt visible. He also has shuriken holsters strapped onto each of his legs. Bah. Whatever, let's just get this all over with. Ao grumbled until he started to scold Chojuro. I swear that kids want to be some kind of maid to women until they get old and can't be parents. Old maid? Mei thought of dangerously in her head. She said nothing as Ao continued to yell at Chojuro. And I can't believe that I have to pull you kids off of women with some of wrench. There is lots of girls your own age Chojuro and they are not the wrong ones to date and get married. Wretch? Wrong age to marry? Mei thought of the wrong words in the wrong order again as her form got more and more stiff and her eyes were completely covered in black. While she started to ignore Ao's ranting, she just whispered in his ear. Ao, shut up or I will kill you, she said with a smile so innocent and so cherry it scared Ao. What did I do? Ao said without a clue as to why his Mizukage threatened to kill him. Anyway you two. We are out here because I was told by Sarutobi Dono that he is retiring for good and he already chosen his successor, Tsunade, the slug Sennin. I was also told that Naruto Uzumaki was out of here looking for her too. Mei got serious and her bodyguards nodded. I want to meet both Naruto and Tsunade for my own personal reasons. But let's just say that while there are plenty of Yotan users like me and Roshi of Iwa, but I always thought that I was the only user of Futon. He proved me wrong and I am not going to throw away this chance to start a new clan of Futon users in this nation. I don't care which village shelters them or if I will have to offer myself to him, but Naruto and I will not be the only users of Futon in the world. XXXXX. Meanwhile, Sasuke dragged his hurt body with his shattered arm down the hall as Naruto tried to fend off his older brother and his partner until help could arrive. He was just drowning a hatred at the blonde for taking away his revenge. Sasuke just doesn't let anything go that easily, even if it meant turning him into a homicidal traitor. What is going out here? Sasuke turned and saw something that made him smirk, like he had discovered something that he was searching for, and so soon. But all that was blacked out, and we now see Kisame trying to stop this blonde on a rampage with Saimata, and yet he was still getting hit where it really hurt. Damn it. Taijutsu and Nintaijutsu are the few things that Saimata can't absorb. This brat is something or a threat more than a nuisance and an annoyance. Kisame tried to tell his side of the story to Itachi, who was leaning on one of the hotel walls with plenty of burns eating at his skin. Indeed, Kisame, and I am not sure if Naruto-kun knows this, but it seems that he had learned how to use this power over boiling water and steam to replicate a ninjutsu that Hanabi and holder of the Gobi used, according to her members. Itachi thought in his head, since even speaking was somehow a chore for this S-rank rogue shinobi. Han called it the Futon, Kairiki Muso, and also that he was the only use of this Futon. He must never have heard of the goddamn Mizukage. And she mustn't have either. As Itachi tried to think about all this, Naruto was having his own thoughts that he kept no secret in his excitement. Thanks for bringing me over the top, Kisame. I feel like I can shatter rock with my punches now. I just don't know what to call it, but I think that this form should have a name, Naruto said causally as he ignored the pain in his hands while punching the sword covered in scales. That's it, Naruto shouted and landed a right jab to Kisame's face, sending the shark shinobi into a distance before his head started to dig into the hard floor to stop the rest of his body. I think I will call this Futon. Itachi was the only one in disbelief, since Kisame was too busy with rocks in his ears trying to get his head out of the floor of the hotel hallway. Just what is this brat? Not only is he considered a threat by Leader Sama, but he is still childish. Itachi would have written more notes down mentally when he felt an incredible pain that was like some was hitting a fresh wound. Of course I can't forget about you, Itachi, and since you're Sasuke's older brother, I figured that you deserve to get a good feel of what he did to all of yous twice, Naruto said with a dark tone, and Itachi actually screamed when he felt his deep bruise being soaked in boiling water. Relax, Itachi, I am just trying to fix you up, and I need to close the exit door when I am done. I can't have you die from this illness, because everyone suffering at Sasuke's traitorous hands will be for nothing. Nothing but empty memories. Itachi had no way of knowing if Naruto was merely being a sadist or was actually knowing what he was doing. After a couple of minutes, Naruto pulled his hand out forcefully, leaving behind indeed a stab wound that was closing up with the help of the burn. Itachi tried to get up from that pain only to realize that he was able to get back onto his feet easily and his vision was becoming clearer. Now only use those forbidden eyes unless there is a real good reason to. That means if you keep abusing that power of yours, you will need glasses. Doctor's orders. Naruto started to do his childish approach to his enemies and then reactivated his Futon again just in time to dodge a swipe and a jab from Itachi, only much faster and stronger despite the fact it was coming from a shinobi who was more like a specialist in ninjutsu rather than taijutsu. The two braced for another match off while Kisame finally got his head back into the air above the dirt until, who awoke me from my nap? Where are you, brat? The Akatsuki are this way, Mizukage-sama. Itachi knew the first two voices and figured out what the third was addressing. Real trouble was coming, and now Itachi thought it over. They had delayed a little too much and they need to leave before they blow their cover. Kisame. We can no longer take Naruto-kun. We need to retreat. Yeah, against Jiraiya and the Mizukage, I will prefer to fight someone else than them any day, Kisame said, and they fled when they realized their target wasn't in their sights anymore. Unfortunately for them, that last brief moment of hesitation had allowed the sources of the voices to find them. It was Jiraiya the Goat Sage, Tsunade the Slug Sage, and Mei the goddamn Mizukage and her bodyguards. It's the Akatsuki, Jiraiya yelled and formed hand seals. I won't let you escape again. Kushios, Gamaguchi Shibari. The corridor turned into that of a toad's mouth, and not just any toad, a fire-breathing one, and as such, this area is supposedly fireproof. Jiraiya then braced to fight both of them as well as Mei, but Tsunade was already in a bad mood. Take that. And that. Still think you can disturb my naps? Tsunade had scared Jiraiya, Ow and Chojuro, and yet amazed May when Tsunade was able to crack some bones and heads with her bare fists. Where was she hiding all that strength? Arg. Mizubunshin no Jutsu. Suro no Jutsu. Kisame pulled some Mizubunshin to turn into prefect water spheres that had caused the Sennin and Kiri shinobi to back off. Since light can barely move through water as good as air, it made the perfect cover-up for their escape. The shinobi knew that the Akatsuki did because the water spheres did lost their shape and fell to the ground as normal and harmless water from a clogged-up drain, but that wasn't what the shinobi were interested in. It was that the hole in the wall, with the outline covered in some black flames. Not one of them had ever seen them before, so they don't know what will happen if the flames had caught onto their clothes. May tried again and again to use her Sudan to put out the flames, but they never scoffed out. Jiraiya had to use some of his sealing techniques he called Fukuhoin in order to store these flames. He had plans to study them as soon as he can and as safely as he could. I must admit, Jiraiya said to face Tsunade, who was listening to her companion complain about her going on a destructive rampage which wasn't good for their debits. I never expected to meet up with you again in a place like this and after what had happened. How are you? While all this is going on, Naruto was in trouble and hurried down the corridor to find Sasuke and his girls. When Naruto finally got away from the Akatsuki, he had realized that he hadn't locked the door to his room with the girls and he told them to stay there. The only thing that he had forgotten in that brink of the moment was that his girls don't want to be left out of the action. And the worst part was that Naruto saw Sasuke heading in that direction and Naruto could smell the lust that he was emitting and was covered in Sakura's scent. Damn it, Sasuke. I will not hold back at all when I find you. XXXXX. Let us go. Stop it. Mile per hour. No, you bitches now belong to me because I have the power of a king. My power is much more important than any of the blondes, and you should have belonged to me because I am sure that he is just a cuckold bastard. Don't you see that he is still not here? Sasuke taunted as he continued to molest the girls while they were still under his bodily paralysis genjutsu. They were only trying to see what the action outside in the hotel corridors was all about. That is, until Sasuke appeared out of nowhere and kissed Sakura on the lips, but not before placing all them into a special genjutsu he had formed on the fry with his Sharingan. Now he can do anything he wanted with Ash's girls, including forcing them to be his wives. Naruto-kun, where are you? The girls were starting to lose hope as well because this genjutsu was made by a Sharingan and those illusions can only be broken if the holder loses his concentration. When all seemed to be lost, Sasuke's scream dropped to the ground to hold his only good arm, which was suddenly drenched in boiling water. But Sasuke ultimately released his prisoners to get even with him. Bastard. Sakura took the first turn and shattered some bones in the legs as well as a few in Sasuke's ribcage. Molester. Hinata used her Juken to block all the Tenketsu in Sasuke's arms, making them not only broken but also numb. Rapist. Finally Haku took out her self-made kunai from her eyes and hacked at Sasuke's face. The catch was the cuts were frozen all the way deep, which only made them hurt worse. They were going to repeat the process when a blur zoomed past them and picked up Sasuke by the hair rather painfully. Sorry I am late. I have this hero complex too strong for my own good. Did you have fun in the end? Naruto said, and the girls scowled but nodded anyways. In that case. Naruto trailed off and formed some kind of seal with his remaining hand. The girls then felt something wonderful, like being in a hot bath after working hard and exhausting labor in the winter cold. They looked down and realized that their skin was now pure all over again, and any trace of Sasuke ever touching them had vanished with their last skin, similar to how Orochimaru sheds his skin like a snake but done a lot prettier. Now then Sasuke, Naruto said to the boy, who was in disbelief and shocked that his influence and work on the girls was erased right in front of his eyes. It was like Naruto had made it impossible for Sasuke to claim as his own bitches. I think it is my turn to dish out some punishment of my own. Sasuke couldn't even whimper under the pain and stares that he just wasn't used to, but he did scream louder than Sakura did in the academy days when he felt something hot against the scald of his head and dripped down his face. Futten, Tatano Roti. After hearing that before the boiling water settled over his ear, Sasuke screamed until his mouth started to boil. He couldn't even move his broken and numb arms to stop Naruto until his entire face was covered in the acidly heated water. Finally, Naruto released Sasuke and sent the boy to the ground, removing any boiling water from the latter's face. The girls got a good look on the barely alive Sasuke and were disgusted to see what his face was like now. It was like he was stung by an entire hive of hornets. His skin just swelled up so bad that it looked like the bumps were about to pop open. Please. The shinobi then heard a low voice, like that of an elderly man on the brink of death from old age. Please kill me. It was Sasuke who couldn't speak up with his mouth burned and his face all burned from the boiling water. He couldn't even open his eyes. I have nothing left to live for. Sasuke muttered while coughing. I have finally met my parents. That got even Naruto's attention. They saw what I have done. Even if I killed my brother, my only family left, my clan, my own kind, will never be welcomed anywhere. Itachi will do what I couldn't. Sasuke had tried to say before breathes and coughs. You all hate me, so please kill me. Even a shinobi will kill, because they will never let a comrade wither, in pain and misery, and on the brink of a slow death. I know you want to do it, we are shinobi. That was the last Sasuke ever said when Naruto closed his eyes and used his control over ice to form a sharp-pointed spear that he placed where Sasuke's heart was. But he wasn't the one who dug it into Sasuke's broken and scalded body. They all did, Naruto and the girls who all had reasons to hate Sasuke and shouldn't be sad about killing him. They were shinobi, and no matter how many nasty rumors are spread about them, shinobi still have a code of honor. They never let their prey suffer a slow and painful death. It will no different than being tyrants. When Naruto and the girls had completed the task of their first kill, the ice from the spear had completely covered the body, turning Sasuke into a human popsicle. What happened next was what Sasuke would have wanted, in darkness to be forgotten as merely the traitorous last Uchiha of Konoha, and now the village have finally lost one of their important clans. It is the fate of those who embrace darkness as their light and lose their will to keep walking until they reach the light at the end of the tunnel. That's the end, guys. If you enjoyed, then make sure to leave a comment. This is Chaos Shinobi signing off.